Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Vigilante Deku met Eri? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. Izuku was out patrolling again, bouncing between rooftops like there was nothing else he'd rather do. Probably because there really was nothing else he would rather do. Well, actually he would prefer it if Eraserhead was here, because at least the hero was enjoyable company, something Izuku certainly wasn't used to. Still, he was enjoying his roof hopping right up until the moment he saw a small girl running. He loved fighting crime, but he hated the fact that any kid that young would run like that from anything. Instantly, Izuku was jumping off the roof, landing behind her and scanning the surroundings. He heard the girl scream, and instantly spun to face her. Was she in danger? Was she hurt? He met her terrified eyes staring at him as she scrambled away, terrified of him. Hey, it's okay, I'm a vigilante, I'm not going to hurt you, I promise. What's that? The girl asked, still pressing herself away from him, her eyes flicking around his face, as though uncertain where to look. The mask probably wasn't helping. It's like a hero, he explained gently, kneeling in front of her, his hands up to show he wasn't going to hurt her. A hero? The girl asked, blinking up at him. Yeah, I save people. Like me. Do you need saving? Izuku asked, hating that he knew the answer was yes. As expected, the girl nodded, although she clearly still didn't trust him. Not completely. He had to find out if whoever had hurt her was still around, still a threat. Only then could he comfort her. Is someone after you? Yeah, but he'll hurt you. I'll hurt you. You won't hurt me, no one will, I promise. Okay, the girl nodded slowly, her hands loosening from their panicked grip on a steel pipe coming out of the wall behind her. What's your name? Izuku asked softly, his eyes flicking around under his goggles. He was deeply aware that he could be in a lot of danger. Whoever was after her was likely not going to take kindly to Izuku's presence, but he couldn't do much about that other than be prepared. Eri. Hi Eri, I'm Dash. Izuku hesitated there for a moment, not sure what he was supposed to call himself. He couldn't give his real name while he was in his gear, because the poor girl would have to tell someone. The only issue was, in his vigilante gear he'd only ever been called Problem Child by Eraserhead, and he was pretty sure that wouldn't be at all comforting. So, he just said the first thing that came to mind, I'm Vigil. While that was a FING stupid name, just the first half of the word vigilante. He really hoped it didn't stick, but honestly knowing Eraserhead, the hero wouldn't let him live it down. Still, despite the lame name, the girl seemed to be calmed by it. She mumbled the name under her breath for a few seconds before nodding, seeming okay with it. Hey, who are you? Eri? Eri, get back here. A man's voice interrupted, yelling from the way Eri had come from. Izuku spun around, bringing his hands up, ready to defend himself and the girl. Who are you? Izuku snarled back, all softness that had appeared while he was talking to Eri now vanished. I'm her father. She just ran off for no reason. Come on Eri, it's time to go home. No. Eri sobbed, gripping onto Izuku's pant leg. At that very moment, Izuku felt his heart melt and he knew there was nothing he wouldn't do for Eri. Sorry, but you aren't coming anywhere near her, Izuku stated, doing his best to sound calm and unbothered. What, fancy yourself some kind of hero do you? The man sneered at him, and Izuku's already balled up fists tightened. Vigilante actually, Izuku replied steadily. He clicked the button on his phone, which had been programmed to send an SOS signal and his location to Eraserhead. Sure, he could probably handle the man on his own, but do that while protecting the child? And then restrain him while comforting the poor girl? Eraser was on patrol, and he may as well get help. He fought off the man, struggling slightly with the way the girl's grip on his leg stopped him from moving it when he dodged, but he made do, barely so much as wincing when hit by the blows he hadn't been able to dodge. It took Eraserhead what felt like hours, although it was probably only 5 minutes, to arrive on scene, and immediately Izuku disengaged from the fight. I'm getting a civilian out, deal with this guy, Izuku yelled to the hero, pulling a now shaking and crying Eri into his arms, and running, quickly finding a fire escape and jumping a few roofs before he set the girl down gently. "Hey, Eri, are you okay? You're safe now, I'm with you," Izuku promised, crouching easily in front of her, trying to wipe away her streaming tears. She looked up at him in pure terror, and once again Izuku could feel how uneasy she felt, and the mask was clearly making it worse. He looked around, deciding that this was a safe enough spot, and pulled his mask under his chin, sliding the goggles up onto his forehead. "See, I'm just like you, I'm safe, I won't hurt you. I promise." "He's going to hurt you, I have to go back so he doesn't hurt you." "Hey, Eri, no, you're okay. He's not gonna hurt anyone. I'm a vigilante, he can't hurt me. I'm strong." Vigilante? Like hero? The girl asked, seeming to be trying to confirm her understanding of it. Her voice was wobbling, and Izuku nodded. "Close enough. Yeah, like a hero, that's right." Save people? "Yeah, that's what I do, I save people." "But he'll hurt you." "No, Eri, he can't hurt me, I'm super strong, I win all my fights." "All of them?" Eri asked, tilting her head. "All of them," Izuku agreed with a firm nod. He wasn't going to mention the many fights he had lost. This was to comfort the little kid, not scare her more. "Kid? Problem child? Where are you?" A voice called, way too close for Izuku to have his mask down. He pulled it over his face quickly, tugging down the goggles so they would cover his eyes, and pulling his hood back over his distinctive green hair. "Eri, can you do something for me?" "Yeah," the child replied, seeming almost happy to be able to do something. "You see, no one can know what I look like, it'll make me unsafe, so can you keep it a secret, right?" Izuku asked, praying she would understand. "Yeah, I can do that, Mr. Vigil." Eri smiled, seeming proud of herself for this. Izuku beamed, doing his best to make the smile obvious despite his mask, before offering her his hand. She gripped it tightly, and he led her out of the corner they had been hiding in. "Problem child," Eraserhead called, and Izuku could hear the subtle relief in the hero's voice. "Hey Eraser, this is Eri," Izuku introduced, walking over to the hero who had reached their roof by now. "Hey Eri, are you okay?" "I'm okay." Eri nodded, and Izuku looked hopefully at the hero, who could probably practically hear the way he was begging for Eraser to take over. It wasn't that he disliked the girl, because that was the farthest thing from the truth, but he didn't exactly trust himself with another human. Besides, he couldn't take her into the police station without being arrested, and he certainly wasn't living in a situation he could bring a child her age into, regardless of the age he'd been left to his own devices. "Vigil saved me." "Vigil, huh?" Eraserhead asked, quirking an eyebrow at Izuku, who just shrugged awkwardly. "Well, he's very good at what he does, but how about you and I go talk to one of my friends? Maybe we can get you some ice cream on the way?" "What's ice cream?" Izuku could see the way Eraserhead's usually emotionless expression changed, sadness showing for a few seconds before the hero hid it away, and he smiled. Eri was in very safe hands. Aizawa, rather unexpectedly, came home with a child that night. A child that was legally his, if only in a fostering situation. Once Eri's quirk and clear lack of control became obvious, thanks to a major breakdown at the police station, it was clear Aizawa needed to be the one to look after her. He didn't even argue it. So to say that was not what he'd expected for the night was pretty accurate. It was one of the least expected things in his entire career, so he could hope the next week would be calm to make up for it. It wasn't. The next day, Aizawa was at the mall with Hizashi and Eri to get her some new clothes and toys and such, things she simply didn't have. He was watching the girl be amazed by small things that she should be used to, and his heart broke a little. So yeah, maybe he bought the girl more than she needed, but in his opinion she needed quite a lot in order to make up for her life before this. What he really truly hadn't been expecting was for the girl to stop suddenly. Okay, that was pretty on par with her prior actions of the day. The surprising part came from what she said. Vigilante. The girl beamed, pointing at some random kid who was scribbling in his notebook across from them. "What?" Aizawa asked, looking between the boy who was completely oblivious to the attention he'd gained, and the little girl, who seemed to be hurriedly stopping from pointing and shaking her head. "Nothing." Eri replied insistently, practically running off in another direction. Aizawa stared after her, then back at the green-haired boy, before shaking his head and following. He didn't have the time to investigate, he needed to stay close to Eri. By the time they had bought everything Eri needed, and maybe a bit more, the girl was exhausted, and Aizawa found himself carrying her sleeping form in her arms as his Zashi took care of the bags. With that, they headed home. While the girl was asleep, Aizawa couldn't bring himself to sleep, worried something might happen, so instead he continued to work on his case file of the problem child. He only bothered to investigate the kid because he was just that, a kid. He wouldn't turn the vigilante in, but he still wanted to make sure the child was safe. He was scrolling through his notes, trying to see if anything made sense, and a random theory he had jotted down a few months ago caught his eye. Hair always concealed, identifying factor? Unnatural color? With that, far too much slipped into place. The way the problem child had quickly put his hood up when Aizawa had arrived. The way Eri had pointed at the green-haired boy in the mall. The way problem child's gear had green accents, but not in a way that would make Eri connect all green to him. Aizawa wrote down 2 more notes. Hair, maybe green? Eri may have information, ask her about problem child. Where else would she have learnt the word vigilante? Because that was surely what she had been attempting to say at the mall. Aizawa had a lead. Finally, he asked Eri about the vigilante later that day, once she had fully woken from her nap. No, Eri shook her head determinedly when Aizawa asked her to describe the vigilante whose face she had admitted to having seen. Why not? Aizawa asked, holding back the exasperation and annoyance at the words. He didn't want Eri to take it the wrong way. She had only just escaped an abusive situation. He had to build her trust. Mr. Vigil said he'd be unsafe. He said not to tell anyone. Mr. Vigil? Aizawa asked, confused by the random mention. Was it someone from her past? What? The Vigilante? Eri replied, almost seeming to question herself as she tilting her head in confusion and maybe thought. Okay, so problem child had given himself a name. Mr. Vigil? Or probably just Vigil considering Eri put Mr. in front of everyone's names. Right? So Vigil showed you his face, but said not to tell anyone what he looked like? Yeah. Eri agreed, seeming proud of herself. Aizawa almost melted at the sight. It was too adorable. Okay, see Eri, it wouldn't be safe for a lot of people to know who he is, but I wouldn't hurt Vigil, so you can tell me. But he said no one. I don't want to hurt him, Eri whispered, seeming devastatingly sad at the thought. Backtracking. While he did need to help problem child Vigil, he also needed to keep Eri happy. You won't hurt him, I promise, but you see, Vigil needs saving as much as you did. Does that make sense? He just refuses to let me save him, but you telling me what he looks like would help me be able to. So, I tell you and he doesn't get hurt? Eri asked, clearly uncertain, but also hopeful. Yeah, you describe him to me and I'll make sure he doesn't get hurt at all. Does that seem fair? Aizawa agreed. Okay, Eri nodded after a few seconds of thought. He has green hair. And it's curly too. Oh, and very green eyes, they are bright. He also has a bunch of freckles. But what else? I don't know. Thank you so much, Eri, you did so well, Aizawa praised, not wanting the girl to feel like she hadn't done enough. She had helped. A lot. It was more information about his appearance than Aizawa had gotten on all their patrols together. You will save him now? Eri asked hopefully, and Aizawa nodded. He checked the clock, and noted with surprise that it was nearly time to head out for patrol. He'd try to get more out of the kid that might help him narrow the search, because he really didn't want to spend hours at the police station scrolling through faces in order to find ones that fit the description of problem child. How about you go see Hizashi and get him to make you some cookies, and I'll go save Vigil, Aizawa suggested, to which Eri eagerly agreed, rushing off to find Hizashi, who Aizawa had just seen moving around. He spent a few minutes adding the new information to his computer before getting changed and heading out to find the kid, which of course, didn't take long. Hey, Eraser. How's the kid? Is she okay? Yeah, she's more than okay. She's got a foster family now who will treat her well. You're sure? I'm certain. Okay, I trust you. I'm glad you do. Vigil? Aizawa snorted into his scarf, watching as the boy scrambled awkwardly before hanging his head in defeat. I'm never living this down, am I? You literally named yourself Vigilante, so I'm gonna go with no. But Eraser. Yes, Vigil? Aizawa responded, adding the same whining tone to mock the kid. You're a pest, Vigil grumbled. For all you know, it could have been a testament to the vigil I watch over Japan with. Was it? No? But like it could have been. Sure, kid, Aizawa laughed, rolling his eyes at the mayhem. This kid was way too sweet and funny for his own good, although Vigil could counter that side of him with deadly sass and sharp words when he wanted to. Oh, come off it, Eraserhead. You can't even claim to have come up with that one. It's better than Vigil. Well, of course it is. You're not a vigilante, you're a hero. You'd have to be a shortened version of hero like he or her. You are pronouns. Yeah, that's definitely not how it works, kid, Aizawa snorted, not even bothering to attempt to hold back his laughter. It was impossible when he caught the kid in one of these moods. Today was a good day. Aizawa didn't want Vigil to be alone for a bad one. Hey kid, Aizawa asked softly as they patrolled from the rooftops. Izuku looked up, meeting Aizawa's eyes with a clear question in them despite being covered by goggles. Yeah. The police are looking for you again. I got them to calm down for a bit, but they are looking again. Are you with them? No. I don't want you to go to jail despite how much of a pain you can be, Aizawa teased, and he smiled when the tenseness in the kid's shoulders vanished again. I wouldn't survive in jail, or well, jail wouldn't survive with me. That they wouldn't. Aizawa laughed, knowing the kid would probably be able to annoy his way out of jail somehow. Then, with a sigh, he remembered why he had started this conversation. I could protect you if you wanted. I just need your name and I could make sure they never suspect you. He heard a slight rustle to his side, odd for the usually silent kid, and groaned as he realized Problem Child had left. Damn it. He'd been getting better at not scaring the kid, but he was planning to go looking for his identity, and he would have preferred the kid open up to him. He knew Vigil had no home, no family, and no school based on the hours he patrolled and the few things he had let slip. Well, the family part was unclear, but he definitely didn't have any that he was close with. Eraserhead finally had enough information to track Problem Child down, and he fully intended to at least give him the first two, and eventually convince him on the third. Still, he ended patrol early, hand-delivering a criminal to the police station his friend worked at. Eraserhead, what's so special about this guy that you brought him here yourself? Tsukachi asked, immediately taking note of the abnormal situation. Aizawa expected no less from the detective. He's just a random thug. I came here to talk to you, Aizawa replied, passing the thug off to a nearby cop, not bothering to look away from his friend. It's about the Problem Child. I see. Tsukachi nodded, directing Aizawa towards his private office, clearly understanding the sensitivity immediately. After all, there was only one person Aizawa called Problem Child these days. I have new information on him, Aizawa explained once they were safely out of earshot. Can I borrow your computer to go through the database and find the options? It will probably still be a lot, but he showed his face to Eri yesterday, so I can get her to let me know. Okay, I need to go get some statements. The computer's just there, you know your way around. Good luck, Eraserhead. And with that, Aizawa was alone with the computer that held all the answers. He found his way easily to the citizen database and began a search. He carefully filtered the search for age, hair color, eye color, gender, and height, before sorting them by proximity to the areas he patrolled. Once done, he found himself with over 500 options. Much less than it had been previously, but still quite a lot. He needed something else to filter if he wanted to get any sleep whatsoever. So, he scanned the notes on his phone, trying to find anything at all that was possible to search for. Information from Eri. Green curly hair. Green eyes? Bright? Freckles. Freckles. Okay, he could work with that. 300 results. Aizawa groaned, but began to flick through the files. Opening the first one, he quickly found his way to the kids' school, from which he found the kids' social media was following the school, and from there it was clear this wasn't Vigil. Eraser groaned inwardly at how long just that part had taken, but still he continued. It was for the kid. He knew Vigil didn't have a family, knew he didn't have anywhere safe to go, and he knew that if anything happened, if he got hurt, he wouldn't be willing to come to Aizawa for help. Vigil didn't seem to have a death wish, but at the same time, it was pretty clear he was less against death than he was prison or foster care. Aizawa wished the kid would believe him that he wouldn't be sent to either, but trust wasn't Vigil's strong suit. He couldn't blame the kid, he barely knew anything about what Vigil had gone through and it was already too much. The way he stuttered through his words on bad nights, or stayed silent on worse ones. The way he constantly had injuries unrelated to patrol, things he couldn't have gotten even if he was patrolling without Aizawa around. The way he had learned how to fight to defend other kids from his bullies, the carefully worded statement telling Aizawa two things. This kid was being bullied, and he could defend others but wouldn't defend himself. That was made obvious by how easily he threw himself around if he thought it would help a civilian, or even Aizawa himself. He called it a night, a very unsuccessful one at that, much earlier than he would have naturally. Hisashi had called him, insisting he came home for at least an hour of sleep before they headed into UA. 6 a.m. was a late night, Aizawa supposed, especially given how little time he had before school would start, but still. He wanted to search. He wanted to find the kid. Izuku never bothered to wait for Eraserhead, despite enjoying the hero's company. He was often held up, and Izuku may as well get some patrolling done. Eraserhead would catch up sooner or later if he was coming at all. After all, there was always the chance it was a random night off. Sure enough, about 3 hours into one of Izuku's patrols, Eraser appeared, and the two simply ran across rooftops as though nothing was wrong. And nothing seemed to be wrong. At least, that was until they had restrained a criminal and were waiting on the rooftop above for the police. Eraserhead managed to ruin the lack of things being wrong in 2 words. Seriously. How did anyone destroy normality so easily? You're quirkless. How the F did Eraserhead know? And worse, had he worked out Izuku's identity? Sure, he had worked hard to keep it all hidden, but what slipped through combined with this knowledge would probably be enough for Eraserhead. He was painfully smart after all. Why? Why are you asking? Izuku settled for saying, not sure how else to respond. Izuku Midoriya, that's your name, isn't it? Eraserhead asked, and Izuku winced. But he was offended. You gonna send me to prison now or something? Izuku asked with a grunt, knowing he couldn't get away from Eraserhead. Not like this. Not while they were seated on the edge of a building. Eraserhead's scarf clearly gave the pro the advantage. No, I was going to ask if you'd mother knows you're out here. She started taking night shifts and she only comes home while I'm at school or, well, work now. It's been that way for about a year or 2 back, she couldn't care less. Who looks after you then? You're only, and how do you have a job? I look after myself just fine, thank you very much, and I don't have a job, no one takes in the quirkless. I just told her I do so she wouldn't kick me out for being a useless dropout. Izuku grumbled, hugging his knees to his chest in his best attempt to hide how embarrassed he felt at this line of questioning. And for what? None of it was even his fault. You shouldn't have to live like that. I also shouldn't have to deal with my only friend digging up dirt on me, but here we are. Izuku snapped. I wasn't digging up dirt to get you in trouble. I've been trying to offer to foster you. Indefinitely. What? Izuku asked, blinking at the hero in surprise. Why would he do that? I could tell you weren't okay, I know you rarely go to school if at all, and I know you're young. I want to help, kid. No high schools would accept me. I applied to every high school in Japan. 90% of them don't let you complete the application form without naming your quirk. It's illegal to lie on those. The rest just turned me away. Kid. Maybe UA would have accepted me, but he was going there and I think he would have killed me if I went. My bully. It's stupid. It's not stupid. You were keeping yourself safe. I could get you a spot there if you want? I'd be there so your bully wouldn't dare hurt you. Teachers don't care about me. I don't want to see that side of you, Razor. Kid, I do care. I would care. Why did you have to do this? What? Work out my identity. Everything was fine before. Kid, there have been too many nights where I had to actively talk you down from the ledge. Too many nights where I could barely get you to stop crying, let alone talk to me. That is not fine. That is, in fact, the definition of not fine. But, yeah, okay, Izuku really couldn't argue that fact, but I'm a vigilante. What can you even do? There is a vigilante reform program. I've been trying to tell you about it. You would have to get your provisional license, go to a hero school and only ever patrol with me until you have your full license, but you could do it. There's no way UA will let me into the hero course. I'm not a hero. You are, problem child. You are a hero. Plus, with this program, I would be your mentor, and as I am one of the hero course teachers, I can get you into my class. We have an opening and everything. Really? Really? But it's almost the end of first year. Where would I even go? You would join 1A. The heroics course has pretty much all been things you've done out here so far anyway. 4 normal school subjects, you can either try to catch up or join next year's first year class for everything except heroics. You think I could really do that? I know you could, kid. Where would I get the money for it? Vigilante reform is fully paid for. Where would I live? Knowing you, I'm doubting you're letting me go home. Not to your neglectful mother, no. You can come live with me and my husband. We adopted Eri too. Roof hopping is the only thing that keeps me sane. I don't want to lose that. You won't, so long as I'm with you. Izuku stared at Eraserhead for a long time, calculating before agreeing. He knew he didn't have much of a choice. Not really. Eraserhead knew his identity. This offer was a last saving grace, a once-in-a-lifetime chance ticket out of prison. He couldn't just say no. Less than a week later, Izuku found himself glowering at the offending UA uniform in the mirror, in his room at present Mike and Eraserhead's apartment. Which, in of itself, felt like an absolutely insane thing to say. How the hell had he managed to get himself adopted by 2 pro heroes? And how had he gotten into UA? Perhaps the most important question, though, was simply, why the hell was UA's uniform this horrid? Not only was it painfully uncomfortable and impractical with how much it limited movement, but it also had a tie. He did not know how to tie it. He was going to look awful in front of his class. He'd only been living with Eraser, Aizawa and Hizashi for a week, and he was going to be an embarrassment to them already. Izuku slumped to the ground, dropping his head into his arms and trying to stifle the sobs. Kid! Eraser's voice cut through. Hey kid, what's wrong? I can't get it to work. Izuku sobbed, pulling aimlessly at the tie. Useless. 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 He was such a useless Vigilante Deku. Here, let me help. Eraser was calm, gentle, reassuring in the way Izuku only ever dreamed a father would be. Soon enough the tie was tied, not in the monstrous knot Izuku had made it into. I can't do this. I can't. Do you want more time? You don't have to start today. I'm already behind. A few days won't change that, Izuku. No, I want to go in. Okay, we can do that. Is there anything you need? I don't want them to call me Midoriya. I don't like it. I hate it, it's bad. I don't like it. That's okay, kid. What do you want to go by instead? We can introduce you with another name. Can I dash? Izuku hesitated, unsure how to ask this. Can I take your name maybe? My name is easily accessible, and the witness protection to deal with angry villains that might come after heroes means that we don't want you to be clearly related to me or Hizashi. Izuku's heart fell, of course. Why would Eraserhead want to share a name with Izuku? That was stupid. How about Yamazawa? A combination of the two? No one would know it was a combination. What do you think? Izuku Yamazawa? Izuku blinked at the hero, once, twice, 3 times, before grinning and pulling him into a hug. I love it, thanks Dad, Izuku said, flinching at the name, unintentionally slipping out. He's thought of Eraserhead as a father, or a dream of what a father would be like, for over a year, and now he was fostering Izuku and it felt too easy, but he knew he shouldn't say that. He expected Eraser to pull away, to distance himself, but the hero just held him tighter. Of course, kid. The rest of the time spent getting ready for school only involved 3 other meltdowns, which Izuku would take as a win. And he got a hug from Eri, which of course was always amazing. He was glad she wasn't alone with some random strangers, even if she did have to spend the days at a daycare while their parents, guardians, were at school. And now he was too. Izuku cried when they dropped Eri off, not so much about Eri leaving, he knew she loved daycare, but because he'd been holding back another breakdown until she was gone. He was terrified. Terrified of what the class would say, of how they would react to some random kid appearing near the end of the year, of what they might do to him. He had to remember to be okay. Eraser would be there with him. He would be okay. He had to be. Izuku was the first to class, unsurprising since he had come with the two teachers who needed to do stuff before school. He sat in the seat, second from the back and furthest from the door. Normally he wouldn't like the lack of a quick exit, but since he was the first in, it meant he would be further away from their reactions. Izuku focused on his maths textbook, trying desperately to catch up with what the others had learnt. It wasn't perfect, but he was doing his best. The first student to arrive, a solid half-hour before school was due to start, was a boy with navy blue hair who walked stiffly. Izuku kept his head down as he carefully watched the boy's movements. It was that intensely close attention that let Izuku see the confusion cloud the boy's face as he looked between Izuku, the classroom door labeled 1, and Eraser, before stopping back on Izuku. "Hello, I'm Tenya Ida. I was just wondering if you are sure you are in the right place?" "Hi, I'm Izuku Yamazawa. I'm joining your class. It's my first day," Izuku explained awkwardly, praying the boy wouldn't immediately turn on him. "Oh, well, in the case, welcome to Class 1A. I am the class president, so if you need any help at all, let me know." Izuku nodded. Yeah, okay, he could pretend to do that. He wouldn't. He'd ask Eraser, but he could pretend to do that. "Thank you." Ida nodded resolutely and headed towards a different desk to begin setting up for class. Izuku focused back on his work. A few more students entered, clearly looking confused when they saw him, but upon seeing Ida, they were either too awkward to or not particularly keen on introducing themselves, which Izuku didn't particularly mind. After about 7 quiet students had entered, a pink girl with a yellow-haired boy walked in and stopped to stare at Izuku. They stayed there, eyes locked on him for a solid 4 seconds before practically sprinting at him. It took all that Izuku had in him not to flinch. "Hi. You must be new. I didn't know we were getting a new classmate. Are you from General Studies? I'm Mina Ishido, by the way. This is Denki Kaminari. It's so epic to meet you." "Hi, I'm Izuku Yamazawa," Izuku responded, unable to help the slight smile at the name. Yamazawa. Yamada Aizawa. Yamazawa. He really was their kid. It was real. "Hi. It's so great to meet you." The boy Kaminari grinned. "You too," Izuku responded, mostly because he knew it was social etiquette than the actual truth. "We have to finish our homework. It's due today. Ectoplasm Sensei is killing us, I swear. Anyway, we will talk later, yeah?" Izuku nodded and the two moved to what was presumably their seats. Izuku was glad Aizawa had told him he wouldn't need to do homework he wasn't here for when it was assigned, or he would probably be having a panic attack right now. "You're new," a voice grunted, not so much a question as it was a statement of fact. "Hi, yeah, I'm Izuku Yamazawa." "Hitoshi Shinszo, are you from Gen Ed like me? I don't remember you," the boy asked, sitting down in the seat in front of Izuku. Huh, apparently he was sticking around to ask questions. Well, Izuku supposed he should make use of the time before his lack of a quirk was revealed. "No, I didn't get into UA originally," Izuku muttered, not quite willing to admit he hadn't been in any school at all. "Oh, so you transferred schools?" "Basically, yeah," Izuku agreed. "It was close enough." "Cool, well, I'm gonna have a nap before class because I got a delightful total of 2 hours of sleep last night," Shinszo declared, dropping his head into his arms on the table. Izuku shrugged to himself. The kid was weird but not insanely so, and Izuku definitely didn't mind him. Suddenly there was a bang that had all of them, even Shinszo, looking up to the doorway, although Shinszo dropped his head again immediately upon seeing who it was. Izuku, however, froze. He should have asked Eraser about his students. He should have thought of this possibility, but he hadn't. He hadn't thought about it in all his panics. He hadn't thought they would be in the same class. "DKU? What the F are you doing here?" Izuku flinched back, his muscles tensing, ready to defend himself. Ftesh, ftesh, ftesh. Bakugo. Sit down, Eraser. Snarled, his voice in that low tone he only ever used on villains, or at least, he'd never seen Eraser use it on a civilian, or him, before. His quirk was activated and he looked furious. No. Why the F is that quirkless beach in this FNG school? He should be FNG dead or some sheet. Not in you. Bakugo. Watch what you say very carefully. You know full well how little tolerance I have for discrimination. He's a quirkless. He's useless quirkless Deku. Get the F dash. Class. Eraserhead demanded, emphasizing each word with deadly venom. But he's dash. Bakugo didn't get a chance to say another word as Eraserhead's scarf whipped out and tossed him out of the class. Does anyone else have a problem with Yamazawa? No one spoke. Good, keep it that way, or you will be expelled. I have zero tolerance for discrimination of any kind. Remember what happened to Mineta? I am willing to have that happen again to anyone who discriminated against anyone else. Am I understood? The entire class nodded, although for some reason, Shinszo turned to give Izuku a smug smirk. I got that perverted bigot Mineta expelled, Shinszo grinned, villainous quirk? I don't think so. Oh, okay. That made sense. Kind of. Do you want to introduce yourself, kid? Eraserhead asked, paying no attention to Shinsu's smirk. Sure? I'm Izuku Yamazawa, you can call me whichever, I don't mind. Good. Yamazawa is joining us from now on. He's new to UA, so try to show him around, would you? He's also had more experience in the field than you have and is an excellent quirk analyst, so, if he tells you something, you should probably listen to him. Other than that, homeroom is a free study session, don't be too loud. You've done field work? So you're a hero student transfer? Shinszo asked, sounding genuinely curious. Yes, something like that, Izuku agreed, which caused Shinszo to furrow his eyebrows in confusion before shaking it off. Cool, well, if you want to know the places to go when you don't want people bothering you at lunch, let me know. I know the best spots, Shinszo offered. Thanks, that sounds good, Izuku agreed because the cafeteria sounded like hell on earth. Shinszo nodded resolutely before dropping his head back on his desk, clearly intending to nap. Izuku was about to look back to his textbook when the girl behind him spoke. Yamazawa. Yes. Izuku asked, turning to face her. I'm Momo Yaoyorozu. I was just wondering what school you went to before this? I have a few friends at other hero schools that I thought maybe you would know. I probably wouldn't. I kept to myself mostly. Oh, still, what school did you go to? Right, okay, she wasn't letting this go. Excuse. I was homeschooled. Oh, I didn't know you could be homeschooled and be a hero student. Yeah, it's rare. I'm an exception, I think. That's why I'm here now. Oh, okay, I see. Well, if you need any help adjusting, just let me know. Or Todoroki, he was homeschooled during middle school. Siro says I'm not well adjusted, so I might not be the best choice. The boy next to her, presumably Todoroki, said in a completely monotone voice. Was that a joke or serious or? That's good to know? Izuku offered non-committally. Todoroki just nodded and continued working on his worksheet as though nothing had happened. The rest of homeroom was basically just Izuku meeting the class and trying not to think too much about the Bakugo scene. Hopefully no one would bring it up. Thankfully, no one did in homeroom. Izuku would call that a win. As the classes during the day started, the anxiety wore on. He'd been ahead in middle school, he'd needed to be in order to pass with the way the teachers marked him down, but here he was so far behind. Ectoplasm was talking about something called a differential and it took all Izuku had not to smash his head into the table in front of him. What the hell was he blithering about? Izuku didn't even know what half the words he was saying even meant. Izuku couldn't help but relax when Mike appeared, declaring it was time for English class. He could do English. He was fluent in English. He ended up using that lesson to try wrap his head around differentials for Ectoplasm's class. It was rather ineffective. Lunch came around soon enough, and Izuku was packing up his stuff, planning to find somewhere on campus to eat his food, preferably far away from everyone. People were a lot. He really wasn't used to it, and he did not want to deal with another round of constant questions like homeroom. Did you want to go to the roof? No one's ever up there, I can show you the route, the boy who sat in front of Izuku Shinszo offered. Izuku hesitated, trying to work out if he could be trusted, but villain's quirk meant he was probably used to discrimination and probably wouldn't discriminate, right? Yeah, sure, why not? Izuku agreed, pulling his bag onto his back and following the boy through the hallways and up to the roof access. I always come out here, so don't go out shouting the location to everyone else. I don't want to have to find a new place. Please don't take this the wrong way. That's a great start, what's up? Shinszo sighed, looking over at Izuku as he sat down. It's just, why don't you have any friends? You seem cool but no one else is here? Is it discrimination or… No, the class are all nice. Well, Bakugo not so much, and Ida gets on my nerves a little, but the rest are. I transferred from Gen Edition. I wasn't looking to make friends at the time because I felt so far behind, plus they all had their groups and I really didn't want to have to get to know so many at one time, but yeah, I guess I never got around to making friends, so I thought maybe we could be friends and people would get off my back about my lack of friends. Oh, that makes sense. I've never really had friends, so I don't really know much. The only friend I've ever had was an adult who was pretty set on arresting me, so… Okay, Lordrop much? You were on the run. Not really, didn't run from it or anything, I just committed some crimes and was known for it. They didn't end up arresting me though, so I'll take the win. How did you manage to go from petty criminal to UA hero student? That's not a pipeline I thought would even be possible. Hey, I was not a petty criminal. You want to tell me you were some sort of mob boss? Look, I'm really not supposed to tell people this, so you have to keep it quiet, okay? I'm only telling you because you're my first ever friend my age. Don't tell me you are actually a mob boss. No, Izuku snorted, not a mob boss, a vigilante. I'm so effing dumb. What? You literally made that so obvious. On field hero work? Next you will tell me you were partners with Eraserhead or something? Okay, you aren't going to believe this dash. I will push you off the roof if you say what I think you're about to say. I'm sorry, he was just assigned to arresting me? He was your first friend? What is your life? It's pretty wild, hey? Izuku laughed, leaning back against the wall. Yeah, I'd say so. To think I was proud of getting my Neta expelled, a truly heroic deed may I add, but this whole time you've been out here illegally being an actual DMN hero. Well, sure, that's one way to put it. And you got Bakugo expelled. In it I will never catch up to your greatness, Yamazawa. Sure you will, eventually, Izuku teased, earning himself a playful shove from his new friend. His first friend his age. Izuku couldn't help the bubble of joy he felt as he headed back to class with Shinszo, officially one friend more than he'd ever had before. It's heroics next, by the way. We will probably be doing either sparring or the hell course, or both. Shinszo told Izuku as they started walking back to class at the end of lunch. The hell course? Izuku asked. It's this obstacle course Aizawa-sensei makes us do. There's about 10 levels. Aizawa-sensei's the only one who's ever completed a level 10, and he struggles with them. We finally managed to get up to a level 3, but I swear I die every time I run it. Well, that was terrifying. And of course, upon walking into class, Aizawa declared that it was exactly what they would be doing. Kaminari was selected to run the course to show Izuku what it was like. Given he didn't even make it halfway before getting knocked over by a massive pole, that was perhaps a mistake. Izuku was about to ask about that choice when Ida went, only getting a little further. Then Yaoyorozu, who managed to make it to the halfway point before getting dumped in a not acidic acid pool. Apparently it would have been acid if they were on a higher level, which, what the hell? Yamazawa. It's your go, Eraserhead called, and Izuku stepped towards the line. Good luck, Shinszo muttered with a quieter, we all need it. Eraserhead. Izuku called to the teacher who was in a booth, clearly controlling the obstacle course. Yes. Are there any rules I should know about? Just use whatever you have available to you and get to the end as fast as you can. No rules. Interesting. Izuku knew for a fact that there would be a loophole in this, or Eraserhead would have worded that differently, and immediately his eyes scanned the course. Pretty quickly, he found what it was he was looking for. A route up to the roof of the buildings built into the course. He had no doubt it would have trapped still, but there was definitely something there. Aizawa-sensei? Wouldn't it only be fair to let Yamazawa try level 1 first? None of us can even do this level yet, Ida asked, and DMN he was lucky he hadn't argued that Izuku couldn't do it because he was quirkless, which was what he had expected. No, Yamazawa has to catch up regardless. Might as well start here, Eraserhead replied, and Izuku ignored the carefully quiet whispers as the word quirkless was tossed around in the group. Okay, he would make it to the end and shove it in their faces. I'm ready, Izuku called, and Aizawa gave him the countdown. Immediately Izuku was racing towards the fire escape, dodging and weaving pop-ups and a fing blowtorch. DMN that was extreme, not something he hadn't faced before though. On the fire escape he immediately pulled up the first rungs so the fake acid-spitting robots couldn't follow him, before he bounded up, dodging boobay traps that felt a little too obvious. Had the others not seen those? There were tripwires and buttons on the floor and it was so obvious. Even the obstacles he didn't see an activation for, likely what Eraserhead was controlling, had warnings they were about to come out and he managed to roll to avoid them. On the rooftops he scanned his surroundings quickly. There were definitely less boobay traps up here, but he didn't doubt there were other things that could reach him. At the exact moment he had that thought, he was dropping to the floor to dodge a volley of arrows flying at him. Then he was up again, sprinting across roofs and jumping them easily. Most were easier jumps than his normal patrol route, which was nice. Soon enough, Izuku was at the finishing point, grumbling under his breath at the swinging baton he hadn't quite fully missed that would leave a DM good bruise on his arm, nothing substantial though. He walked back to join the class, waving cheerfully at their stunned faces. That had been fun, he liked a good challenge every once in a while. Most patrols were boring, just roof jumping and a few fights. He voiced that thought, that it was fun, not the one about patrols. The few in the class who weren't gaping openly were now, jaws dropped. Seriously? They had quirks? Eraser, please don't even tell me you lowered the difficulty for me because I will be so sad. No, that was a level 3, problem child. Your roof jumping form dropped a bit in that. You nearly stumbled. You threw a fireball at me. What, like you haven't dealt with that before? From Fengin Devhor, not you. Sorry Todoroki. Izuku added the last part as an afterthought. Probably shouldn't share the nickname of his new classmate's father that included, where, in it. It's fine, it's pretty funny actually, I'll have to send that to Natsuo. He'll appreciate it. I'm sorry, but what just happened there? The pink girl, Ashido, blurted out, how did you not die? I've had a lot of on-field practice. No, I mean the obstacle course thing was insane in of itself, but you talked back to Aizawa-sensei? You've sparred with Endeavor? The guy with the tape arms? Sivo? Siro exclaimed. Also, how the hell are you still functioning after the hell course? Okay, it wasn't talking back to him, it was banter. There's a difference, although if he had gone easy on me we would be in a whole other situation. What else? Endeavor, no, I didn't spar with him. He's just a prick who hates me and thinks that's a valid excuse for attempted murder. Again, sorry Todoroki. Anyways, the boobay traps were pretty easy to see if you know what to look for. Honestly, most of that knowledge wasn't even from my on-field practice. A lot of people have tried to murder me. Yeah, quite a lot of people. I really should be dead. The first one was definitely Bakugo back when we were 6 or so, and it really didn't stop from there. I need therapy. Razor, can I get therapy? I've already signed you up to meet with Hound Dog after school tomorrow. Awesome. So yeah, that's basically it. Why are you guys staring at me like I'm a ghost? I didn't actually die. I have 2 theories, one of which means he's not quirkless, and the other means he's someone's secret love child, Todoroki mumbled. What? Did that boy just say the weirdest things on purpose? Was that just the energy he brought to everything? It was a vibe, sure, but a rather bizarre one. While we are dropping my life story on you, I just want to make it clear right here, right now, if I ever hear any one of you muttering amongst yourself about how I'm quirkless again, I will not hesitate to drop the metaphorical gauntlet and spar. If you thought that obstacle course is hard, you would not want to verse me. Look, I'm not trying to be quirkist, but dash. Ida, there is literally no way for you to finish that sentence without making the first half a lie, so either drop it or finish it and then spar me. It's not. It just, how would you even beat someone with a quirk? Fing hell. Eraser, can I? Go ahead. I've deactivated all the traps in the obstacle course. You can spar there. Only because sparring would actually answer his question, but problem child. Yeah. Don't actually kill him. I don't want to have to tell his brother I let him die on my watch. No promises. Izuku grinned with a wink, bounding off towards the entrance to the obstacle course, and throwing a yell over his shoulder, "Are you guys gonna come watch or what?" With that, the class followed him, all looking a mix of confused or concerned. Well, not quite all. Shinszo and Eraserhead just looked proud. That was enough to keep Izuku happy. So what if he had a few mildly quirkist classmates? He had a friend and Eraserhead in his class. He would be fine. He would be. Izuku grinned as the fight began and Ida ran towards him. Yeah, he really would be okay. He'd fought off villains with far more control and elegance. He should talk to Eraserhead about that. Why was one of his students so stick-like? Izuku didn't know how to explain what it was, but it was pathetic. The boy had no fluidity to his movements. It was all solid and blocky and so very easy to dodge. Which he did. Repeatedly. Dodging in of itself would have been enough if he had been in a small sparring ring, but he supposed he could argue that no one had to worry about that when they weren't in a ring. Izuku laughed as Ida went flying past again, fully missing him. It wasn't that he was laughing at the boy, it really wasn't. He was just happy. It felt so good to be able to fight without fear of actually dying or being hurt bad enough to get caught and sent to prison. It was so freeing. Izuku needed more of this. More training, more joy. He ducked out of the way of Ida's attack, effectively kicking the boy's chest backwards enough that as his legs continued forward, they went out from under him and he sprawled onto his back. No reason to leave him face down where he could potentially use the heat of his quirk's mutation as a weapon. This was better. Izuku lunged onto him, his legs kicking out in a way that would perfectly hold down Ida's legs while his hands fought for control of Ida's arms. It took a moment, but Izuku was clearly stronger than Ida, at least stronger than Ida's arms, and why hadn't the boy managed to kick him off? Surely his quirk was strong enough for that? It should be able to rocket his legs upwards, right? Either way it didn't matter. Not when he had Ida so thoroughly pinned and a hand against the boy's throat in what would be a strangle if this were real. Match over. Yamazawa won. Izuku bounced back onto his feet with practiced ease, used to bounding away after pinning enemies. Instead of disappearing into the shadows like he normally did, however, Izuku offered a hand out to his opponent. Thank you so much. That was the most fun I've had fighting in ages. I forgot fighting could be fun when you aren't in life or death situations. Anyways, how does your quirk work? I thought it was engines in your legs, but why didn't you use that to flip and throw me off? I was expecting it, so I would have been fine, but you didn't? It was weird. Most of the time that's the sort of thing that would happen. What do you mean? Like, how do I explain this? So you were lying on the floor, pinned under me like so, right? Izuku asked, lying down. But unlike me, you have power in your legs. You could have sent all that power up and whoosh, flipped over like so? Izuku showed the movement he was imagining, bouncing off bent legs instead of a quirk and flipping over into a handstand and then standing again. I never thought of that. Really? Do you not get pinned often? Not a lot, not really. But you spar a lot? Yeah, we are hero students, of course we spar a lot. Wait, Razor, have you not taught them how to get out of being pinned yet? I swear that was one of the first things you taught me. I taught you that after I had to save you because I found you with a whole villain on top of you. They follow a curriculum and don't go out fighting villains alone. The escaping from being pinned topic is in 2 weeks. Ding, you guys just end your spars when you are pinned? Sometimes we get out. The redhead Kirishima called out, we just haven't learnt it particularly officially. What have you learnt then? Yamazawa. Most of them came in with no knowledge on any fighting skills. That's what we've been teaching. No fighting skills? Izuku asked because he had forgotten that not everyone had needed to fight off attacks from all sides since the age of 4. But he was weird. He was an exception, not the norm. Of course. How had he forgotten? Right? Sorry, my life has been kind of weird, huh? Izuku mumbled, his cheeks flushing warm. He hadn't gone into vigilantism with no fighting skills. Sure, they weren't fully developed, it was mostly dodging, and it had been Eraserhead who taught him how to punch properly, but he'd had some skills. Izuku had known how to throw a reasonable punch, but it had been learnt through observation of how thugs fought, and that slightly dirty fighting style had stuck with him, even if he had cleaned up some of the rougher edges. Now that we've sorted out that Yamazawa is plenty skilled regardless of his lack of a quirk, does anyone else want to fight him before we go back to doing the obstacle course? Anyone who can beat him will get to keep sparring rather than complete the course. Hey, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for that, Izuku whined, not at all upset. Fighting was good. It was fun. Yes, you did. You signed up when you agreed to join my class. It was this or prison, such bullshit. Yamaza, Eraserhead warned, and Izuku just pouted for a moment before turning back to the class and remembering how excited he was. Alright, who's first? Why not give it a go? Kirishima asked, seeming more directed to himself than anything as he stepped forward. Hi. I haven't really gotten to know you. Could you tell me your name and quirk again so I can try to remember it better? Izuku lied, because the boy had introduced himself, and Izuku did remember his name, but he hadn't said his quirk. Luckily, it was pretty common to introduce yourself and your quirk, so he hoped it would trick an answer out of the boy. It did. Although Izuku wasn't sure that the boy wouldn't have just told him straight up if he'd asked. Fighting Kirishima was a whole lot harder than Ida. Izuku had to be a lot more careful. If he threw a punch and Kirishima saw it coming, he would be the one to get hurt. So Izuku dodged, ducked, and weaved, getting the boy's habits, watching how he took breaks from being hardened when Izuku couldn't quite reach him. Probably to help maintain stamina. It was smart. Sorry, Kirishima. Izuku winced when he found the easiest way to take him down. What? Izuku leapt forward, wrapping himself around Kirishima's head like a koala, legs right around the boy's arms as he stumbled around in the sudden dark, holding the arms down to stop them reaching Izuku. He reared back, and then stopped just millimeters from poking Kirishima's eye. Wait, one eraser? What have I said about starting conversations in the middle of a fight? I just want to know if I can use my knives? The ones I requested on my hero costume? Could you win immediately from here with a knife? Yes. And could you reach your knife sheath? Yeah, easy, Izuku agreed, moving his arm around to where his sheath sat on his vigilante costume. As it was he was in the UA sport uniform, but whatever. Then yes. Yaoyorozu, can you make a small throwing knife? Blunt please. The girl gave it over to Eraserhead who walked onto the field where the two were still awkwardly frozen. Alright, continue. Izuku easily won the fight. Holding a knife to Kirishima's eye was enough for the boy to concede. That was such a good fight. Does your costume have goggles? You should look into it since your eyes don't harden. It would be a good addition. Also, the way you rested your quirk when not close to me was genius, but make sure they don't have a long-range attack or you will get a throwing knife in your side. Izuku grinned, twirling the knife around on his fingers to add to his point. Izuku continued sparring with a variety of the students. Denki's electric shots were terrifying, but Izuku thankfully managed to avoid them. There wasn't much he could do about Todoroki's ice wall, but the fact that the boy had to fill out property damage forms made that loss sting less. Shinszo was a good fighter, and despite not being able to get Izuku under his quirk at all, he put up a good fight. Izuku won, but a large part of that was the overwhelming amount of practice he had escaping Eraser's capture scarf. Yaoyorozu was an interesting opponent to fight, mostly because she was more strategic than any of the others had been, and it forced Izuku to both move quickly so her plans wouldn't have time to be finished, but also to avoid some more dramatic attacks. He did win the fight, but it was certainly close. Talking to Yaoyorozu afterwards and discovering she could generate cannons was insanely cool and something Izuku 100% wanted to see, although he did recommend looking into guns in order to reduce how much lipids she used. She seemed to appreciate the suggestion, So Izuku would call that kind of friendship making maybe a win. He wasn't particularly sure how friendships were made, but it felt like a good start. Tokoyami and Dark Shadow thoroughly destroyed Izuku. It was so interesting though, and Izuku was determined to beat them next time they fought. He told Tokoyami and Dark Shadow as much, and the boy seemed to smile, while Dark Shadow chittered excitedly about friends. Was that a friendship? Izuku didn't know. He did not get how these work. He spent the rest of the session with Todoroki and Tokoyami, discussing how he could do better against their quirks. Neither seemed to mind that Izuku was quirkless, nor that he was trying to improve his ability to beat them. Surprisingly, they asked for his advice as well, advice he happily gave. It was when the class was headed back to their room for the last 10 minutes that someone finally asked the question he had been dreading. How did you know Bakugo? I've been meaning to ask. He seemed to know you. The girl with the brown hair and zero-gravity quirk asked. Something? Urarana? No, that wasn't right. Uraraka? Yeah, that was it. Bakugo was my childhood friend right up until I was diagnosed quirkless. Then he was my bully. He tried to kill me for the first time when we were 6, or well, I'm not sure if he was aware of how nearly I died at the time, but he tried to set off explosions on my throat. He got better as the years went on, but I'm still here so. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, he really hates quirkless people. He really nearly did kill me when he heard I was planning to try for UA originally. That's why I didn't. It wasn't worth dying over. So you were homeschooled because of that? Yeah, that's close enough. What? Well, I mean, I tried other schools too, obviously. Being quirkless stopped me getting into all of them. Uraraka blinked at him, looking genuinely surprised before she shrugged, said her goodbyes and bounced off to join her friends. Izuku tried not to think too hard about it. That was made easy when Todoroki spoke. Are you Aizawa-sensei's secret love child? Izuku stopped walking, causing Shinszo to startle and look over, and Tsuyu, who'd been behind him, to crash into him. What? Izuku asked, thoroughly baffled, after apologizing to Tsuyu. Well, he's taught you how to fight. He doesn't seem to hate you as much, he knows your skills, and he erases quirks, while you don't have one. Makes sense. No. No, I am not Eraser's secret love child. He'd have to have had me when he was like 15. Oh, maybe that's why he kept you a secret. Did he give you up for adoption and only find you recently? That would explain a lot. No? I am definitely not his secret love child. Shinszo snorted, muttering the words, secret love child, under his breath like it was the funniest thing he's ever heard, and honestly it was pretty high up there for Izuku. DMN. I guess you're immortal then, Todoroki replied before walking off. It took all Izuku had not to stop in his tracks again at the words. He looked over wildly at Shinszo, a silent plea to make it make sense. Shinszo, unhelpfully, just shrugged. What the F-? Izuku hissed under his breath. He's kind of like that. He gets stuck in his conspiracy theories. He thought I was Aizawa-sensei's secret love child because I use his weapon. That was pretty stupid since Aizawa-sensei literally offered to teach anyone who wanted it. I was just the only one who stepped forward. Really? DMN, I probably would have. He said I was too chaotic with my knives to be trusted with his capture weapon, but I thought that was just an excuse. I can't believe he actually does teach it. I will be pestering him about this. Yamazawa. Shinszo asked, giving him a deadpan look. Yeah. You are so not subtle. Izuku laughed. Yeah, okay, that was probably true. If you want to keep it a secret, you are going to have to stop calling him Eraserhead. Izuku wrinkled his face at that. Nope. Calling him Aizawa was simply wrong. He called Hisashi, Mike, even though he'd never met the hero before knowing his real name. It was just better. Or not. Your funeral, Shinszo teased, walking into class and dropping into his seat like a lead weight and dumping his head in his arms to nap. Valid as hell. Izuku waved goodbye to his new friend, because yes, he had a friend, as the class left, leaving him alone with Eraserhead. Well, that was an experience, Izuku sighed. Wasn't expecting to fight all of them on day one, but it was so fun. Problem child? Eraser asked, his voice in that low warning tone he sometimes used. Yeah. Izuku winced, waiting for whatever reprimand was to come. You knew someone who had attempted to murder you on multiple occasions was not only at UA, but in the heroics class, and you what? Didn't think to tell me that? Well, I dash. Problem child. I kind of forgot about him. Okay, that's a lie. I was just hoping he would be in the other class and it would be fine. Someone who has attempted murder should not be a hero student. Well, okay, you raise a good point, Izuku winced. You know he can be sent to jail for all of that? He will be in fact. I didn't think about that. Problem child, Eraserhead groaned, more affectionately than before, and Izuku relaxed. Eraserhead wasn't mad, and he wasn't going to kill Izuku just yet, which meant he could bring up the point he'd been intending to mention. So, how bad would it be for the others to find out I'm a vigilante? Honestly, I thought you were trying to tell them today. You can tell them anything you like, just don't mention Zashi and I are your parents. It's not that we don't want to scream it from the rooftops, it's just the same reason we didn't take each other's names. Being in a hero family is dangerous. Okay, kid. Yeah, that works for me, but can I tell them Vigilante me knew you? Go ahead. Oh, you don't talk about Eri, right? So I can ramble about her? As much as you want, be careful in front of Zashi though, he'll get jealous, Aizawa joked, his voice deadpan, but his eyes bright with silent laughter. Awesome, okay, so I am definitely not telling any of them that I was a vigilante, other than Shinszo. I kinda already told him, but I'm also not gonna hide stuff. I want to see how long it takes them to connect the dots. Yeah? What are your theories on that? Yaoyorozu is close, I think. She pays attention. Todoroki is either close or so wildly far off, and I'm truly not sure which. He was muttering about me being your secret love child or something, but then he started talking about me being immortal, so, yeah. That's Todoroki for you. He's insanely smart, but he also comes to rather odd conclusions, which he can always justify. Anyways, Ida is probably smart enough, but he's got a wall of beliefs he would have to tackle before he could get there. Mina might work it out based on her people-person skills, and Tokoyami is more observant than the rest of the class, so he probably will sooner rather than later. The others will probably get there eventually, but those aren't guesses. Interesting. I'm not sure you are giving Denki's persistence enough credit. He might start relentlessly asking questions. Jairu is another you may have underestimated, but she's more likely to work it out by overhearing you talk about it. Yeah, good to know, Izuku grinned. Eraserhead just nodded non-committally and told him to go find out what Mike was doing and if they could go home. They could, thankfully. Izuku was exhausted, and he needed to go to sleep early, 4 p.m., so he could patrol later tonight. After some badgering, Eraser agreed to a 2 a.m. patrol if he went to sleep that early. He did. Okay, so when Izuku signed up to go patrol with Eraser the night after his first day of school, he had expected something less insane. But of course, this was Izuku, known for his distinct lack of luck, and so the villains had been utterly relentless, leaving Izuku with a multitude of painful bruises, a potentially cracked rib. He really should not have let that strength-enhanced villain get a punch-in, and very minor blood loss. That then resulted in Eraserhead dragging him to UA to get healed by Recovery Girl, something new he had yet to experience. Usually he just vanished and took care of his own injuries, but of course Eraser would never let him do such a thing anymore. Apparently, and this was based on the horridly pained expression Eraser made as he described his injuries to Recovery Girl, it wasn't mild blood loss. Izuku wanted to argue it was, but who was he to say what was mild and what was major? After all, he thought the Hell course was only mildly hard, and apparently that was wrong? So Izuku was healed and instructed to stay for observation until class started. Great. Now he got to be bored. At least he had someone he could complain to, not either of his guardians since they had to prep for class. He had a phone though, and he had gotten Shinsu's number. Yesterday. Mr. Vigilantism is normal. Entertain me. I'm bored. Izuku couldn't help but grin at the name Shinszo had chosen for him, and edited Shinsu's to match the energy. Mr. Vigilantism is normal. Changed Hitoshi Shinsu's name to Mr. Getting Bigots Expelled on Day 1 is normal. Mr. Getting Bigots Expelled on Day 1 is normal. Okay, that's unfair. You did it too. Mr. Getting Bigots Expelled on Day 1 is normal. Named Chat got bigots expelled on Day 1. Mr. Getting Bigots expelled on day 1 is normal changed their name to Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. Better news. What are you doing up this early? I want to be asleep. Mr. Vigilantism is normal. Class is in 30 minutes? Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. I need to get up. May die, will cry. Mr. Vigilantism is normal. Valid as F-. I'm already at school, sad face. Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. Why? Mr. Vigilantism is normal. Look at my name and ask that again. Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. What? Why school though? Mr. Vigilantism is normal. Cracked rib, sad face. RG does wonders though. I've been up since 2 a.m. Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. Samesies. Diff reason though. Mr. Vigilantism is normal. Dash? That's effing epic. I'm stealing that. Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. Are you stealing my autocorrect too? Capital letters isn't. Couldn't be me are. Mr. Vigilantism is normal. No way you just smirked at me through text, sad face. Also don't judge. I've never had someone I could message before. I don't know how social rules work. It's weird. Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. I was like that when my cousin first got custody of me. He found out I existed when I was 10 cause he didn't really keep in contact with fam cause stuff. He taught me all like, Mr. Vigilantism is normal. I'm glad you have him. Family is nice, adopted or bio. Provided he is nice. If he's not, drop your address and I'll do some official vigilante shin kickings. Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. No, he's epic. I appreciate the offer to kick his shins though. Might have to call you in next time he insists on fried chicken for the 3rd night in a row though. Although if even you could beat him. Mr. Vigilantism is normal. Either he's good or you are seriously underestimating me. You heard I didn't die when Endeavor tried to kill me, right? That lore drop wasn't some fever dream? Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. I think my cousin could beat Endeavor. She's great. Mr. Vigilantism is normal. Wait, is your cousin a girl or a guy? Wait, there are more options, right? I should know this, but I actually really don't know anything. I'm so sorry. Okay, so maybe Izuku had suddenly started panicking as he searched his brain for the answers. He knew there was something, remembered his mother saying something about transgender? Something he really didn't know what, and now he had a strong feeling that it was related and he didn't know how, and he couldn't bear to lose his only friend his age because he didn't know. He didn't know. Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. Nah, it's all good. She's gender fluid, so it changes day to day. Sometimes girl, sometimes boy, sometimes both, sometimes neither. Does that make sense? I swapped over cuz she just came to tell me to get up and she said she's a girl Arn. Mr. Vigilantism is normal. A kinda? Can you explain it to me in person at lunch? Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. Of course. Mr. Vigilantism is normal. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal. You're all G. IGTG, she's saying I'm gonna be late. See you in class? Mr. Vigilantism is normal. Yeah. See you then. Izuku dropped his phone on his lap, trying to compartmentalize that entire interaction. Shinszo wasn't mad at him for not knowing things. Shinszo said it was okay. Shinszo was happy to explain it. Izuku hadn't messed up. He hadn't lost a friend. He hadn't broken everything. He was okay. He was okay. Once Izuku managed to get over that mental hurdle, he was faced with another. Outside of watching hero fights, which he mostly did back when he was little, preferring to watch them in real life now, Izuku knew absolutely nothing about how people talked online. He didn't exactly have friends to message after all. He had needed to think hard to decipher a few of the weird words Shinszo had sent, like GTG meant got to go? That one he had needed to Google. So yeah, basically Izuku was severely ill-prepared for this, but Shinszo didn't seem to mind. Convincing recovery girl he was fine to go to class was a bit of a workout in of itself, but eventually she relented and let him go, pressing 2 energy supplement gummies into one hand and a jelly pouch, like the ones Eraserhead always had with him, into the other. Izuku only just made it to class on time, which meant he was walking into an entirely full class with everyone's attention snapping to him. They all went back to what they were doing before, but still it was nerve-wracking. "How's the rib?" Shinszo asked as Izuku sat down. "Insanely good, doesn't hurt at all, I swear Recovery Girl is actually magic." I mean, technically she kind of is. I'm going to pretend you didn't say that because you don't deserve my rant about how quirks are science not magic. Alright, point taken. Shinszo laughed, hands raised in a peace gesture, and Izuku just laughed. Classes were boring. And exhausting. And practically torture. When lunch finally rolled around, Izuku realized that they at least didn't have heroics training today, which was both annoying and a relief because he was way too tired for that. Shinszo practically dragged Izuku along to the roof, only letting him go so that Izuku could duck into the teacher's office to, quote, get the food his guardians had left with the teachers since he hadn't made it home last night. He promptly collected it from Mike, mumbling gratefully to the hero who he knew had handmade it. Well, semantics. Soon enough they were on the roof, Izuku eating his lunch and Shinszo explaining gender. Right, so, you know how you are a boy? Izuku nodded. So you might feel uncomfortable if I called you a girl? Izuku nodded, not so fully certain on that. He really doubted he'd care all that much, but he understood what Shinszo was saying. Well, some people, they are born a guy, but that makes them feel uncomfortable so they change to being a girl because it fits who they are better, and the same goes in the other direction. Huh, I didn't know people could do that, Izuku admitted. I mean, I think maybe I've heard people talk about it before. But like not properly to my face. Yeah, that's fair. I think it all depends on who you know and that sort of thing. Yeah, probably, Izuku hummed. That made sense. If anyone in middle school had swapped genders he would know all about it, probably would have researched for hours even. So that's called being transgender, Shinszo added, clarifying the term. Right, that was the thing he was pretty sure he had heard at some point in time. You also said sometimes your cousin wasn't either? How does that work? So we call that non-binary, neither a girl nor a boy. It's basically the same, but instead of feeling uncomfortable with the gender at birth, you might be uncomfortable with both that and the opposite gender, so you work as something in between the two. Or outside of the two. Yeah, okay, that makes sense, Izuku agreed with a hum. It did make sense. He wanted to know more about it, but it made sense. He would definitely do some research when he gets home. So my cousin, she's gender fluid. Sometimes she's a girl, sometimes she's a guy, sometimes she's both, and sometimes she's neither. It changes at random, and she usually just lets me know. You can use any pronouns for her unless she specifically requests certain ones. She never gets mad about it or anything though, her work will only ever let her be a man, so I try to be extra supportive so she gets it at home at least. That's good of you, I'm sure she appreciates it, Izuku smiled, because if someone did a similar thing for him, knowing people were quirkist and being insanely supportive to because they thought he deserved it when he get home, he would be so happy. Holy shit. That was what Eraser and Mike did. That was why he always felt so warm and fuzzy and special at home. Izuku? Are you okay? I just realized my guardians care about me, Izuku admitted quietly, and Shinszo pulled him into a hug. Izuku melted, letting out the happy tears. This was so new. So different. So special. Eventually, he pulled away, rubbing his face awkwardly. Yamazawa. Shinszo asked once Izuku had recovered a little bit. Yeah. You said you just realized it and I want to make sure you know this now. I care about you. You are so awesome and funny, and you are an amazing friend. I care about you, Shinszo said, and great. Now Izuku was crying again because he had a family who cared and a friend who cared, and maybe, just maybe, he would be able to have even more people care about him in the future. It was a possibility he hadn't thought about in years, but maybe it was more possible than he'd once imagined. Thank you, Izuku sniffled, and Shinszo just squeezed the side hug a little tighter before letting go. Of course, Shinszo smiled, gotta make sure I've got a vigilante on my side forever. Technically I'm not a vigilante anymore, Izuku pointed out. So you call yourself a hero student? No, I call myself a vigilante, I have some self-respect, Dean, Izuku laughed. Shinszo shoved him but laughed along regardless. Yeah, this was good. Even if Izuku was doomed to fail most of his classes thanks to how much he's missed. Honestly, he couldn't bring himself to care. Eraser said he'd stay with this class and just do supplemental lessons next year if he needed to. That night, Izuku ended up having a 4-hour-long conversation with Mike about gender and what it all meant. After the hero found him still up and researching at midnight, Mike had just returned from his radio show. It was weird, and it left Izuku with questions about himself he had never had before, but he made a choice not to think about it too much just yet. Maybe he would sometime in the future when everything had calmed down a bit, maybe not, either way he wasn't sure. The conversation had eventually veered off to people of the same gender being in love like Eraser and Mike were. Mike wanted to know if Izuku understood that, and Izuku nodded. He remembered learning about it when he was younger. His mother had a friend who was bisexual and he had met a few of her partners. That was back before he got his diagnosis, back when his mother invited people over. She had stopped doing that after the diagnosis, but Izuku knew she still had friends, still visited them. They just never visited. I know this is all new, but I was wondering if you know your gender or sexuality. It's all good if you don't want to tell me, but I'm here if you want to talk about it or ask questions or anything at all, Mike explained, seeming oblivious to the clock that read 4 a.m. Honestly, the only reason Izuku knew the time was because of how keenly he was aware of how long he had kept Mike up. I don't know about gender, I've never really thought about it before. For sexuality it's kind of confusing because I get the idea of it all, but I don't think I've ever liked someone like that. But also I haven't really had much of a chance to either. I don't know, the idea of just falling in love with how someone looks is so foreign to me. Because like what if they aren't a good person? Or if they hurt me? I don't know, it's complicated I think. That's okay little listener, you don't have to know this yet, I was just wondering if you did. I don't know because I'm not in your head and I could be missing things, but you sound like you are describing being demi-romantic or somewhere on that spectrum where you have to get to know someone to fall in love, but it could also just be the trauma, which is a different thing entirely. Yeah, I really don't know. I'll let you know if I figure it out, Izuku sighed. The idea of falling in love with someone and dating and getting married and all that did sound nice. He did want that for himself, but he didn't have a clue who with. Oh well, that was also a problem for another time. How about you go get a few hours of sleep, because you do have school in a few hours, Mike suggested, and Izuku nodded, heading back to his room to sleep for the 3 hours he had before he needed to get up. He talked to Shinszo about it all when he got to school, but came to no conclusions. Shinszo also didn't seem to mind, and the two focused back into class, struggling over the art history assignment Midnight had given them. At least they got to work in pairs and Izuku had someone willing to pair with him. It was a whole new experience. Hey, did you want to come over to my place to work on this assignment tonight? My cousin will be out, they have weird shift hours, but it means we would have the apartment to ourselves. Shinszo suggested, and Izuku nodded eagerly. Someone wanted to spend time with him outside of school? It felt crazy. He wanted it. Desperately. I'd love to, let me ask my guardians first. Izuku agreed because as much as he really would love to, and he was going insane over the idea of it, he didn't know Eraser and Mix rules about it. Problem child. Shinszo just invited me to go to his place this afternoon and work on our assignment for Midnight's class. Would that be okay? Eraser. Yeah, Shinszo's safe. Send me the address though, just so I know where you are in case anything happens. And if you are uncomfortable at all and want to leave, just send me a message and I will call and say you have to come home. We need to get a safe word for that. We will do that when you get home. Of course, listener. Have fun. Let's show, or I know if you need someone to pick you up, we will be there so fast. Problem child. Thank you. I can go, Izuku smiled, turning his phone off. Shinszo grinned, seeming delighted. Izuku couldn't blame him. Neither had really had friends before, so this was probably a first for Shinszo as much as it was for Izuku. They ended up spending lunch talking about what they would order for dinner and what sort of movie they would watch, and it very quickly became clear that their assignment would not get finished tonight, but that was okay. They had a whole week for it. When lunch finished, they went straight to class, collecting their hero costumes. Izuku was insanely excited to see what his was like. Since last heroics lesson he had been wearing the sport uniform, so this was his first time wearing the hero version. It was similar to his vigilante getup, but it had multiple much-needed updates. Namely the fact that it wasn't just an old hoodie and comfortable pants, but rather much more reinforced and heavily armored fabric creating the same look, as well as a bulletproof vest underneath. He had ditched the goggles and edited the mask, preferring a wider vision and a mask that was less likely to get in his way with breathing, although he did have a button to make it filter the air in case he had to fight off an opponent with a quirk like Midnight's. "Let's see the fit," Shinszo grinned, and Izuku reappeared from the change rooms in his gear. It was good, better than he expected, and they had definitely listened to what Izuku requested down to the T, although Eraser had warned him how specific he needed to be. The rest of the class had all upgraded their costumes that had not turned out how they expected already, and Eraser hadn't wanted to have to do that again with Izuku's gear. He did say that Izuku should have a meeting with the support course to look at potential items for inspiration at some point, but for now, so long as the costume was good, he would be fine. "Oh, I like, give us a twirl." Shinszo grinned and Izuku rolled his eyes with a laugh, spinning in a circle a few times. "I like the armored hoodie vibe, maybe I should have gone for that." "Nah, your black jumpsuit is a clear indicator of your favorite hero," Izuku teased and Shinszo flushed red. "I will have you know it's a dark purple." Eraserhead fanboy. Izuku laughed, sticking his tongue out and dancing backwards to avoid the playful slap Shinszo had sent his way. Says the guy who literally fanboyed so hard Aizawa was trying to arrest him and still hung out with the hero despite the warrant out for your arrest. Shinszo pointed out, and Izuku really didn't have an argument against that. Before he could come up with one, Kirishima's voice cut into their conversation. "You had a warrant out for your arrest?" Kirishima asked, sounding thoroughly stunned. "The police know me a tad too well," Izuku laughed. "They never even got me into an interrogation room though." "What the F dash?" Kirishima muttered under his breath while Shinszo responded with much more streamlined curiosity. "They didn't even put you there when they caught you?" "Okay, 1. No one FNG caught me, I gave myself in, and 2. Having a hero back you up and say they will keep an eye on you and personally interrogate you will actually do quite a lot," Izuku laughed. "I'm sorry, what?" "Oh, right, you don't know." Izuku laughed. "Don't worry, he's not a mob boss, I asked him that already," Shinszo added with a smirk, which just served to make Kirishima look even more dumbfounded. "What the hell?" "Welp, we gotta head to class. See you there, Kirishima." Izuku grinned, dragging Shinszo away with barely stifled giggles. "Yeah, bye man," Kirishima mumbled after them, not moving at all. "You are such a gremlin." Shinszo laughed. "Didn't you say they were allowed to know?" "Yeah, I'm not keeping it a secret, I'm just not actively saying, 'Hi, I'm a vigilante.' They will work it out by the end of the lesson today." "Will they though?" "I hope so, I'm going to be dropping all the hints. Aizawa-sensei is going to be so mad at how much I'm laughing today. It's fine I was up until 4 a.m. talking to my guardian, I don't think Razor will make me run laps." "I heard that, Yamazawa. I am very willing to make you run laps if you deserve it." F dash, Izuku groaned, and Shinszo saluted as though Izuku was a soldier off to war. "Rip," Shinszo laughed. "Oh, wait, no one else is here yet? Can I try one of the harder levels on the obstacle course?" Izuku asked Eraser excitedly. He hadn't wanted to show off that much on day one, so he had decided that just fighting the others was plenty, but now he wanted to see how bad the course got. "Sure kid, what level do you want to try?" "I don't know, how exponentially harder does it get?" "I think a 5 might be a challenge for you. If not, we can always up it and run it again." 5 sounds like a good starting point, Izuku agreed. "Wish me luck, Shinszo." "Like you if you need it," Shinszo sighed, clearly expecting Izuku to ace this one. Great, now Izuku had to do well. Before he began, he scanned the path ahead of him for traps. There were far more than the previous level, but the ways to defeat the detectors all seemed to be related to stealth. This didn't seem like one you would run through and survive, but at a careful walk, he was pretty sure he could slip through unharmed. Okay, so unharmed was a stretch, but how was he supposed to know there were FING death robots that were hiding in the nearby buildings ready to throw spears, fire and acid at him? He sent a very aimed middle finger to the nearest camera when he managed to dismantle them all, before continuing on, careful to avoid the traps that were almost everywhere. It was like walking through a minefield. When he got to the end, only one stray knife had hit him, upon which he discovered they were blunted enough to bruise hard but not much else. It wouldn't have killed him, it only got his arm, but it would have been a pain to get Recovery Girl to heal it. He sat through Eraser's corrections, and grinned when the hero told him he was proud that Izuku had managed to realize this one wasn't about speed. Then he had increased the level, and Izuku was off, this time sprinting through the streets, avoiding what seemed to be the equivalent of hundreds of quirked attackers in the form of different robots spewing different dangers. At first he had thought the roofs might have been wiser, before he noticed the AFE automated gun turrets on every roof. Yeah, even he would not have survived those. He was bruised and mildly burnt when he made it to the end, but still he was grinning. He hadn't had this much fun in ages. I'll push it up to a 7 if you want to do one more, but the rest of the Hellions are going to show up soon, so we will start class after that. Yeah, I'll give a 7 a go, Izuku agreed, finding his way back to the starting line. He looked over his shoulder, making eye contact with Shinszo, who seemed to be flushed red. Maybe he'd been running laps or something to warm up while Izuku raced the obstacle course. Yeah, that seemed logical. Hitoshi POV. Hitoshi stared at Yamazawa as the boy began to run again, this time returning to the roofs. When he got too far to see, Hitoshi swapped to watching the variety of screens that showed the boy's location. Even with the completely covered skin and light armored plates, it was obvious from the ease of Yamazawa's movements that he had enough muscles to do pretty much anything, although they seemed more lean since Hitoshi knew the boy was small compared to most. Okay, so Hitoshi really thought his type must not be muscular guys, because no one in the entire class of exceedingly muscular guys had caught his attention, but apparently Yamazawa was proving that theory wrong. Hitoshi swallowed hard, trying to shove down the heat coating his ears as he watched. He was down bad and he knew it, but he doubted Yamazawa felt the same. After all, the boy hadn't once suggested he did, and Hitoshi knew better than to get overexcited. He liked Yamazawa as a friend too, that much he knew. He could pine as much as he wanted, but until Yamazawa showed any of it back, Hitoshi would stay quiet. What level is he doing? A voice asked curiously from beside him. When has Jiraiya gotten there? 7, Hitoshi responded, doing his best to not sound too impressed. Impressive, Jiraiya whistled before turning to Hitoshi. Also man, I can hear your heart beat. Don't bother trying to pretend you're not pining hard. F off, Hitoshi whined, and Jiraiya just laughed. You're fine, I won't tell him. Purpled hair buddies gotta stick together, pervert Mineta excluded, Jiraiya grinned. Look, I don't know if Yamazawa has a crush on you yet, but if he were to have one on somebody, it'd be you. Give him time though, he's still clearly not used to people wanting to be around him in general. Give him a chance to get used to that first, okay? How the hell do you know that much? I can hear heartbeats. I'm pretty good at understanding them at this point, Jiraiya laughed. Oop, we've got incoming. You have my number if you ever need someone to talk to about this, by the way. Thanks Jiraiya, Hitoshi smiled. It was nice to know the others in his class liked him. He wasn't close to any of them, but maybe he could be. Hey guys. Oh, Yamazawa is running the course? He seems to be struggling with it more than Monday. Hi Kaminari, Hitoshi greeted, still watching as Yamazawa dodged yet another ball of fire. He's on level 7, that's why he's struggling, Jiraiya explained, and Hitoshi held in a laugh as the new arrival made a series of thoroughly impressed and maybe a little jealous sounds. By the time Yamazawa finished the course, the entire class had arrived, learned he was on level 7, and had been appropriately impressed. Okay, appropriate might have been a stretch, he's pretty sure at least one person had been crying. Oh, hey guys. Izuku beamed, rubbing the back of his neck as he joined the group. Hitoshi hurriedly fought down the flush at how cute that was because now was not the time. Izuku POV. Holy if Yamazawa, how did you just complete a 7? On the hell course? Denki was the first to speak, and it was more of a screech than anything. Oh, I'll admit it was hard, but it was kind of similar to this one time we infiltrated a mob boss base. Wait sheet, Eraser, should I have signed NDAs? Wait, did I sign NDAs? You're fine. Legally at least. Don't go into specifics though, that's where it gets dangerous in the sense of you have too much information, Eraser had replied easily. Also, you should have dodged that last hit. Sorry, Razor, I got distracted, Izuku muttered. It had been stupid to miss, but it was right after he'd realized the entire class was watching him. Remember what I told you about the dangers of getting distracted? Eraser reminded him, before turning back to the whole class. Alright, today's lesson is on maneuvering urban environments. It's something you are all missing to some degree outside of Yamazawa, who has had more on-field training than you to develop it. You need to be able to scale buildings, escape into shadows, and avoid property damage. It is especially important when you are alone and outnumbered, but even more so when your opponent knows the landscape. Oh, and if you get really good, roof jumping is a lot of fun. Although probably wait until you have a license or you might get unfairly accused of vigilantism even if it's not a patrol night. Izuku muttered the last bit under his breath disdainfully. Problem child, that was one time. Let it go, Eraserhead groaned. Izuku had not stopped complaining about the event even half a year after it happened, although to be fair, that was one of the times a hero had been unnecessarily forceful with him. He'd genuinely just been roof jumping on his way to a job interview, which he didn't get anyway. Whatever, anyways, roof jumping is fun as hell. Yamazawa, I'm trying to teach them, Eraser sighed, sounding thoroughly exhausted, before pivoting his attention back to his class. You all know the basics of parkour and should be able to maneuver a cityscape to some extent, but you're yet to have to do it with speed or to escape, so that is what we will be doing today. Oh, I love this game. Izuku grinned, thinking back to the cat and mouse he and Eraser had played back when he was a new vigilante, the game that was definitely just Eraserhead trying to capture him before he knew Izuku was a kid. Still, it was fun. Alright, since Yamazawa has decided to volunteer himself, it will be him versus the rest of you. It's a simple game of tag with slight edits. You will get a 60-second head start, and Yamazawa will be chasing the entire time. If he tags you, you're out and you come join me in the observation room. The goal is not just to outrun him, so Ida, I don't want you to simply be using your quirk to run away. I will be setting the obstacle course up so that the only obstacles are the robots who will act as civilians. They will cover the streets, and as heroes you cannot cause harm to them. Yamazawa will play the part as a villain with no wish to hurt civilians. You could just say they are all vigilantes and I'm a hero. It makes more sense. Otherwise I just go for a hostage. No need to have intent if I can bluff. Yamazawa. Yes. Shut up, Eraser grunted, giving Izuku the most exhausted look. Oops. Maybe he should listen to the pro. Anyway, the other aspect that is special about this is that the obstacle course will be set to level 0, a mode used for parkour practice. So if you do fall, you won't get hurt. However, you will have to remain there for 5 minutes due to injuries caused by the fall, and Yamazawa can tag you at that point. Any questions? Why is Yamazawa trying to get all of us? Normally you would split us in half. Oh, I know the answer to that one. Izuku grinned, looking at Eraser excitedly. He just nodded with an air of fatigue about him, so Izuku continued, it wouldn't be fair to split us in half, or to have me play the vigilante role, because I'm too good at that. I've had plenty of practice. So making me verse all of you means I have to work way harder, and it's more of a challenge. Shinszo snorted at the mention of vigilantes and again at Izuku's comment about his practice, but the rest of the class just looked at him in confusion. Clearly they were yet to get the hints. Pretty much. Plus, Yamazawa knows how to disappear better than even Hagakure. If he doesn't want to be found, you won't find him. I don't want to be here all night, so he's a hunter. Anything else? Hitoshi POV. No one had any questions, and so the game began. Very quickly, it was clear it was not just a game. Yamazawa was serious. All his bubbly energy dropped, and if he were a cat, he'd be in that hunting mode they sometimes got into. Hitoshi ran. He did not want to be the first out. Hagakure spent the first 10 seconds of the countdown discarding the gloves so she wouldn't be visible, which was smart, but based on the way Yamazawa's eyes were tracking the empty ground, Hitoshi was pretty sure Izuku knew exactly where she was. That was smart. If he wanted to catch everyone, he wouldn't want to lose track of her. Hitoshi thought about going to the rooftops, but he knew Yamazawa was a vigilante and far more experienced at that than he was. So instead he ran a few streets away and started looking around. It took a while, but he managed to find the medal of one of the robots Yamazawa had destroyed when running the Hell course earlier. They normally got collected, but presumably this one hadn't quite managed to yet. He grabbed a part of the bot that would best match the bots outside and he held it over his head, slipping into the crowd of robots. It wouldn't last forever, but hopefully he wouldn't be the first out. Hagakure was the first out. Aizawa-sensei announced it over the speaker with a brief. Yamazawa tracked her movements from the start so that he didn't lose her. The next to go was Kirishima, then Aoyama, then Ishido and Kaminari, then Uraraka, then Koda, then Ojiro. Hitoshi froze as he heard laughter from above. Carefully he kept moving along with the robots, praying Yamazawa hadn't noticed the hesitation. That's smart. I almost missed it. Yamazawa's voice, suddenly much closer, was all the warning Hitoshi got before a weight landed on top of his robot disguise and he felt Yamazawa tagging him before bounding away to continue, leaving Hitoshi with a yell of, "You're out." Begrudgingly, Hitoshi found his way back to the observation room. When he arrived, he was met with Aizawa-sensei's face and he couldn't tell if the hero was disappointed or proud. Great. That was a good disguise, Shinszo, and something he didn't expect, which is good, but it didn't particularly work the assignment, so I'm sending you out to hunt. If you don't find anyone before Yamazawa tags them all, you will be running the obstacle course on level 4. Good luck. And with that, Hitoshi was waved out of the room and Aizawa announced another hunter had joined the game. Hitoshi was not going to lose this. He refused to. The thought of losing was bad enough, but having to run a level 4? Hell on earth. Who was still in? Just over half of the class. Would hunting for a specific person be more effective? Although Hitoshi didn't know where anyone was at all. With a pained sigh, he found his way up to the roof, grateful at the practice parkour Aizawa-sensei had made him do, and headed in the opposite direction he had been. No point following slowly after Yamazawa. Yamazawa had found 6 more classmates, one of which had been Ida of all people. He had gotten a considerable distance away from the beginning point, and Hitoshi was starting to panic that he wouldn't so much as find anyone before his eyes landed on Jairu, too far away for any normal person to hear, but close enough for Jairu to hear him speak. Changing his voice to mimic Yaoyorozu, who was still in the game, he spoke. Jairu? Is he nearby? He didn't have to hear Jairu's answer to pull her under his mind control. He instructed her to stay right where she was and he raced across rooftops to get to her. He practically whined when Aizawa's voice announced Siro's removal before Hitoshi reached Jairu, but it was fine, because he did tag Jairu, pinching her lightly to get her out of the mind control. Sorry Jairu, I needed to get someone or Aizawa-sensei would have made me run the Hell course on level 5. That's horrifying. I'm glad you got me for your sake. Thanks, Shinszo laughed, before heading off to attempt to find another target. Tokoyami ended up being the last to remain, so upon seeing the boy flying well out of Yamazawa's reach his grin widened. He moved to call a question to his classmate, only for Yamazawa to FNG vault through the air, tagging and gripping onto Tokoyami, clearly hoping the bird quirk would be able to hold them both up. Thankfully, Dark Shadow was impressively strong. Oh, hi Shinszo. Thanks for getting Jairu for me. Even with my skills, I didn't think I could sneak up in her. Your very illegal skills? Hitoshi teased lightly. She can hear heartbeats. You would not be able to sneak up on her. That's so cool. I have so many questions. Can she tell if someone is lying? Oh, can she recognize emotions even if people are really good at hiding them? Sorry, I'll ask her. You probably won't know the answers in the enough detail anyway. Yamazawa sighed, and based on the pure amount of information about Hitoshi's quirk that Yamazawa managed to pull out of him, he was right. Hitoshi did not know that much about Jairu's quirk. Sorry, what was that about illegal skills? Tokoyami asked, sounding genuinely concerned. Oh, I just have skills a civilian probably shouldn't and don't have a hero license is all. Izuku grinned, leading them both back towards the rest of the class. The rest of the session was parkour-based, and Izuku was using the lesson to fling himself around with what looked like a combination of reckless abandon and the ease that comes with hundreds of hours of practice. Yamazawa? Mina called, clearly loosing out to the curiosity that plagued the whole class. Do you do parkour classes or something? I did some parkour when I was younger before I moved to dance and gymnastics, and even I couldn't imagine the amount of stuff you can do. Oh, I never took official classes or anything, I've just spent enough time out roof hopping. You do it enough on real roofs with a real risk of death when you fall and you learn how not to make mistakes. Izuku grinned easily. I've spent more time roof hopping than you have spent on UA grounds, that's for sure. Huh, that's cool. Did you get into it for hero training or something else? Well, I started back when I believed people like Bakugo who said I'd never be a hero, but it turned into a form of hero work, I'd say, Izuku replied, and Shinszo fell from the rooftop edge he'd been balancing on, laughing the entire way down before the net caught him, and then he just lay there snickering. Then that looks like fun, I'm just gonna dash. Yamazawa, if you purposefully jump off a roof you will be grounded for life. Don't you mean detention? Yes, that. No jumping off roofs ever. Safe or otherwise, Eraser warned, and Izuku whined, but accepted his fate. Continuing to jump across the roofs on either side of the alleyway, Shinszo fell down as the boy climbed back up. Hurry up, slowpoke, you're missing all the fun. Izuku yelled down at his friend, getting a middle finger from Shinszo in return. Izuku just laughed and turned back to Ishido and Kaminari, who were trying to get better at the pull-up from climbing up a wall onto the actual roof. You know, just because you're pulling yourselves up doesn't mean you need to do a pull-up, Izuku pointed out, and the two blinked at him. Izuku sighed and dropped down of the side of the building to join them. You want to pull up with your arms while also pushing up against the wall at the same time, see? And then as soon as you can, swing a leg around and get it on the roof like so, then all you have to do is roll up to standing and you can go straight into running across the roof. Damn, it looks like it would be slower, but it kinda isn't? Kaminari remarked, pulling himself up. I mean, if you are going for speed, the best thing to do is this. Izuku started, once more dropping so he was hanging off the edge of the roof from his hands. You do a pull-up and you get the leg up the same way, except as you do, instead of letting your leg lie flat and roll, you want it to come up into a squat like so, and then you just push up and you are in a position to sprint. The roll version can be really good if you are trying to stay hidden though, because you are closer to the ground and from there can go straight into a crouch. Oh, that's cool. Kaminari grinned. I wish we had done as much hero work as you. We've only done internships and work studies, but nothing long-term. Oh, I haven't done hero work, just on field work. A civilian can't do hero work, no matter how hard they try. Are you trying to get me to fall over laughing again? Shinszo grunted as he pulled himself up onto the roof. Also, I think you're selling yourself short. I'd call it hero work. Nah, hero work gets a payday, either in grades or money. I got neither, such bullshit. Huh. Wait, what? What was your on-field work then? Pretty much exactly the same as an underground hero but with even less of the rewards, Izuku responded, cheerfully enough to show he wasn't bitter. Before spotting Eraserhead a few roofs away and no longer watching them. Let's go. Okay, keep talking like I'm here with you, I'm gonna sneak up on Razor. With that, Izuku slipped off the roof, hiding in the shadows as skillfully as he could. It was much harder in the daytime, but not impossible. He landed softly on the roof Eraser was on and silently crept towards the hero who was yet to notice him. I know you're their problem child, you're not going to get me, Eraserhead spoke, not even looking in the direction he was in, still observing the students he was helping on this roof. Oh come on. Do you just say that randomly in case I am there? Have you ever said it and it's been someone else? You have, haven't you? Who was it? You're such a meanie, Razor. Izuku whined, attempting to tackle Eraserhead from behind only for him to dodge. Izuku spun, already lunging, this time managing to land on Eraser, only for the hero to throw him off again. With that, one of their friendly sparring matches, that Izuku always lost, began. Sure enough, he lost, but hey, it had been closer than some other times? What the F dash? Language, Zero. But also yes, you are asking a very good question, what just happened? It is very inappropriate to attempt to sneak up on and tackle your teacher. Ida declared. I wasn't, okay actually that's exactly what I did, but it's Eraser, like you can't seriously tell me you never try, right? Izuku looked around as the gathering of students, both the ones who Eraserhead had been actively teaching, Shuji, Zero, Kirishima, and Ida as well as the three, Ishido, Kaminari and Shinszo, who had followed after Izuku had failed to sneak up on Eraser. They were all shaking their heads and gaping like Izuku was insane. He wasn't insane. Was he? Yeah, you're a unique one problem child. Okay, someone has to ask, what's going on between you two? Because not only is Yamazawa scarily skilled, but he acts like you're a friend rather than a teacher and does things like that, as though it's a normal interaction you do all the time. Kirishima asked, finally breaking the silence of contemplation. Oh, I've just worked with Eraser out in the real world enough times for him to have given up on attempting to end my antics, Izuku replied easily. But Eraserhead doesn't take interns? No, he doesn't take hero students as interns. In fact, he didn't take me as an intern, I just forced my presence onto him. What Yamazawa is trying to say is that Aizawa-sensei was originally trying to arrest him, and as you can tell, he did not succeed, Shinszo explained, leaning back against the roof access door, clearly ready to witness the shenanigans. You're a criminal? How are you in the hero course? What do you mean Aizawa-sensei couldn't catch him? What the hell? Alright, quiet down, that's enough from all of you. Class is almost up, head to the gym entrance, I'll gather the rest of the class, and if anyone who hasn't been told can give me a correct answer on what they think is going on, I'll let you not write the essay I handed out in my class, Eraser instructed, jumping off to find the others who weren't far. Wait, you telling me means I can't get out of this essay? Shinszo whined to Izuku as they headed towards the gym entrance. Apparently, but don't worry, I'll help you with the essay to make up for it. Honestly, yeah, okay, I'll take that, Shinszo laughed. The essay was on underground heroics and their patrol schedules. Izuku was more than knowledgeable about the topic. As the class gathered, all trying to get the answer before Eraser returned, Izuku simply shrugged and gave them nothing. He let them talk amongst themselves and share what they knew, but he thought that was enough to work out an answer. Based on the way Tokoyami, Yaoyorozu, Azui, Todoroki, Jiru and Ishido all looked reasonably confident by the time Eraser arrived, Izuku was pretty sure he was right. Although he wasn't certain Todoroki's confidence was well placed after the confidence he had about Izuku being Eraserhead's secret love child. Although to be fair to him, Izuku was Eraserhead's secret child, so there was substantial argument to that one. Shinszo, however, looked thoroughly despondent upon returning to Izuku's side after investigating Todoroki's theory though, so it was safe to say he was wrong. Alright everyone, who has a theory? Eraserhead asked. The six Izuku had noticed had some confidence stepped forward, along with an uncertain-looking Shiro. Alright, who wants to go first? I will not confirm or deny anything until you've all spoken. My running theory is that Yamazawa has an immortality quirk and is in witness protection to keep all for one from gaining his quirk, Todoroki answered with all the confidence of someone very, very wrong. It explains how he hasn't died despite doing things that feel they should kill him, like antagonizing you. Okay, Azui, your turn. I think he's a vigilante and has worked with you in the past as you have talked about the importance of vigilantes in class. I agree with Azui, but I think there is more to it. In order for his participation here to be legal, perhaps a reform program or a court-approved decision. I'm not sure, Yaoyorozu. Okay, so I'm suddenly realizing my theory was dumb and I'm going to just take a step back again, Shiro mumbled. Wait, Shiro, I want to know. Izuku begged, because his curiosity would kill him. Oh, I just thought maybe you were Aizawa-sensei's adopted kid or something. Your name kind of matches his, Zawa, but is different, so maybe you kept some of your old name? I don't know. I thought maybe Aizawa-sensei had been training you, but I think the vigilante theory makes more sense and I'm sorry if I overstepped boundaries. That's all good, Shiro. It's all about the theories, and I'm okay to hear any theory. We will explain the truth at the end though, so I can't tell you if you are right. Izuku smiled, and Shiro nodded, accepting it. I was already going with the vigilante theory earlier, but after seeing your costume today I recognized it to look similar to a vigilante I've heard a little about. With what little I have heard, the vigilante spent a lot of time near Eraserhead, so I connected the dots, Jiru explained. Plus it's pretty easy to tell how you feel about things when I can hear your heartbeat, and while you haven't actively lied, you have hidden the truth. I didn't realize it until we were all talking just before Aizawa-sensei arrived, but I realized vigilantism was the most likely cause, with a small chance of minor villainy provided you hadn't actually hurt anyone if it was the villainy side of it, Ishido explained. I was pretty sure you were a vigilante after what you said to Todoroki, Dark Shadow and I on day one, but today made it all the more clear, Tokoyami finished. Yeah, so I was a vigilante, have been for around a 2 years give or take a few months. I started during my last year of middle school and never stopped. Eraserhead became my teacher after he failed to bring me in, and recently he found out my identity and I could no longer hide, so he dragged me into a vigilante reform program and here I am. But vigilantism is a crime. It's dangerous to both you and civilians. Ida protested. Ida, I know you have issues with vigilantes, but after the lesson we had about vigilantes I expected you to understand their importance, Eraserhead admonished. That goes for all of you. Yamazawa is no longer committing vigilantism, although he does still patrol with me as part of the reform program, and his record of vigilantism has been whipped clean provided he continues here. So he is not to be treated as a criminal or any different from any of you, understood? Can we still learn from him? He's got a lot of skills. Kirishima asked hopefully, I know that's treating him different, but you've said to make the most of our opportunities to improve? Yes, you can still learn from him, and I may well train him at a higher level in order to not waste his potential, but you can all use that to aim to be just as good, Eraser nodded. Also, I'm allowed to talk about my vigilantism days, which does include some really funny stories about your favorite teacher, so let me know if you want to hear any. Izuku grinned, laughing and dancing away from the SWAT eraser aimed at him. No real force behind it. At least we finally understand what Shinszo's been snickering about, Kaminari grinned, seeming more than happy about the revelation. In fact, no one other than Ida seemed upset, and that boy was very uptight about the rules, so Izuku really hadn't expected any less from him. Once the class had stopped gawking about Izuku's vigilantism, they headed back to the classroom to grab their stuff, and with that, Izuku and Shinszo were leaving together. It was mildly weird to leave UA at the same time as all the other students and not from the teacher's car park, but Izuku hadn't exactly been here long enough for habits to form. So he just followed Shinszo, letting the other boy distract him from his nerves with questions about what sort of food he liked and what movies he wanted to see. The walk to Shinszo's apartment was surprisingly close to both the school and Eraser and Mick's apartment. They were by no means neighbors, but Izuku had definitely been on Shinszo's roof right near the start of the patrols he'd done since moving into their apartment. That fact made Izuku feel even more stunned when in the elevator, Shinszo pressed the button to go to the top floor. Misreading Izuku's confusion, Shinszo spoke. My cousin has a bird quirk, she loves heights and has a license to fly, so she made sure to get a roof-level apartment. Oh, that's cool. I am pretty sure I was standing above your apartment the other day though, Izuku explained with a laugh. Shinszo blinked at him and then doubled over laughing. You were on my roof while I slept soundly? Don't even tell me you were asleep at 2 a.m., because I'm sure as hell you were wide awake. Izuku pointed out and Shinszo just groaned in pained agreement. The two laughed, shoving each other playfully until they got to the apartment and Shinszo immediately crashed on the couch in front of the TV, waving Izuku over. So, are we gonna pretend to do our assignment or are we going straight into just hanging out for funsies? Izuku asked, plopping dramatically down onto the couch next to his friend. Depends, have you ever played Mario Kart? No. Okay, well that was not the answer I was expecting. You've never played Mario Kart? No. Izuku responded, even more uncertainly. Holy F, we have got to play. I might finally not lose. Kei always beats me, it's so unfair. Kei? Izuku asked. Oh, Kigo, my cousin. They taught me how to play. Oh, cool. Well, do you think you could teach me? I'm not exactly sure what it involves, but I can try. Of course. Here, take this remote, Shinszo grinned, passing him a weird D-looking remote and explaining the controls and how to play. It was fun, insanely so. Izuku had heard about video games, of course, but by the time he was really old enough to get into them, his mother wasn't paying any attention to him and he had no friends to play with, so he'd never been able to understand them at all. Now he felt like he'd be happy to live the rest of his life simply playing these games with Shinszo. When Izuku finally managed to beat Shinszo, and it took a long time too, Shinszo demanded they play another game before Izuku started destroying him. Izuku was curious, so of course he said yes, and they started a game called Just Dance. Honestly, Just Dance was somehow more exhausting than Patrol, which was truly impressive, but Izuku loved it. He wondered if Eraser would be willing to buy it for him, maybe? He didn't know if he was allowed to ask for that, maybe if he got Eri to ask? He knew they bought her anything she asked for, would they do the same for him? He didn't know. Maybe he should ask. They had moved on to a third game, Wii Bowling, to give themselves a break after the workout that was Just Dance. It was during a round of this, when Izuku heard clattering and banging coming from outside. Immediately he was on guard. They were on the top floor, how was someone getting in? Was it a villain? Was it something dangerous? Toshi? I'm home. The commission sent me on an almost suicidal mission again. I need a hand patching up a wound, is that okay? Izuku stared at Hitoshi, looking between him and the voice coming from the other room. That sounds like Hawks, Izuku mumbled, and Hitoshi flushed red. Shit, if they weren't hurt I'd be yelling at them, but I really gotta go help them. They don't ask for help often. That was enough to spur Izuku into action, grabbing the surprisingly extensive yet small first aid kit he carried in his bag at all times. Hitoshi noticed it and dragged Izuku into the other room. Kigo, shit, what happened? Hitoshi asked, rushing to Hawk's side. It was Fang Hawks. Who's that? Toshi? Toshi, who's that? Hawks looked scared, terrified even. It's fine, he's a friend, he's safe, he has Aizawa-sensei's approval, he's safe. You weren't supposed to come home this early, what happened? This looks like a stab wound, did somebody stab you? Yeah, some villain snuck up on me, Hawks replied, still seeming painfully anxious, and Izuku just got out his first aid kit, collecting the stuff he would need for a stab wound. Hawks looked at him like he was insane. You have Eraser's approval? Izuku's head snapped up. Not many people got to call Eraserhead Eraser. Sure, he knew Hawks had worked with Eraser before, Izuku had been there a few times, Izuku had been there. Well, at least that would set Hawks at ease, hopefully. Yeah, why do you get to call him Eraser? Izuku asked, and Hawks' jaw dropped. Your problem child? Okay, Yamazawa, I thought that nickname was just something Aizawa-sensei called you, not my Fing cousin. Also, how do they know you? Please, Hawks whined softly, pulling her shirt up enough to reveal the stab wound for Izuku to start cleaning and stitching up, and Shinszo nodded. How does she know you? Well, I never had a vigilante name, never got around to bothering with it, and no one ever asked. Eraser just called me Problem Child, but it's news to me that Problem Child was the name everyone called me by. Also, I worked with Hawks a few times. Nothing substantial, but the times vigilantes were given the go-ahead to join forces with the heroes because they needed the numbers. Hawks didn't so much as flinch when the needle went into the skin, which worried Izuku, because how often did he get stitches for this to be normal? Okay, Izuku can't talk, he's had his fair share of stabbings, but still. You didn't answer my question, Hawks. Why do you get to call him Eraser? Call me Kigo while we're here, I don't want to think about. Hero work right now. And I can call him that because we've been working on a case together for a while, he's helping me out a lot. Did you tell him I couldn't be involved, or is he hiding shit from me? Izuku snapped, wincing immediately at his tone. He just hated the thought that Eraser didn't think he could handle whatever it was. It's not on field, kid, it's getting me out of a sticky situation. Getting this apartment and finally meeting Toshi was just the start. He's been helping me pretty much ever since I became a hero, so before you joined him. Oh, okay then. Sorry for getting upset. I just get to tag along to most his missions and I thought maybe. I don't know. You're all good, now what should I call you? Because as adorable as it is when Eraser fondly calls you Problem Child, it feels wrong coming from me. I'm Izuku Yamazawa. As a vigilante I am now unfortunately going by Vigil. Vigil? Hawks asked, raising an eyebrow and not even bothering to hold the laughter back. Like Vigilante Vigil? Yeah. I know. Izuku groaned, leaning his forehead on Shinsu's shoulder in defeat. Can't say my hero name would be any better. But Hawks is such a good name? The commission chose it, not me, Hawks sighed. That's part of why I like going by Kigo at home. Means I'm less theirs. Oh. Don't worry about it, Yamazawa. And now that you know who I am, you're welcome to come around anytime. Usually we try to avoid bringing people home when I'm here. It's dangerous to be a family member to a hero, so keep it secret, alright? The commission still doesn't know either, so really don't go spreading the news outside of Eraserhead. Of course, I won't, I promise. I know rules about that sort of thing, you don't have to explain it, Izuku smiled, because he had the exact same rules. Izuku wondered if this discovery would mean he could bring Shinszo over to his apartment as well, more to meet Eri than anything. I have to go file some stupid reports, you can go back to whatever you were doing and I'll order in some friend's chicken for us all if that's alright? Not the fried chicken, Shinszo whined, looking to Izuku in desperation. Izuku just stuck his tongue out. That sounds awesome, Kigo. Izuku beamed, and the hero seemed to light up, whether at the teasing of her cousin, the agreement for fried chicken, or the use of her name, Izuku didn't know. So, that's my cousin, Shinszo said slowly as they sat down on the couch once more. Yeah, I'm going to need to change your name in my contacts real quick, Izuku laughed. Shinszo blinked at him like an idiot and Izuku didn't bother explaining. Mr. Vigilantism is normal changed Mr. Chronic Insomnia is normal's name to Mr. being related to a hero is normal. Okay, well to be fair, it is a secret. I kept it better than your vigilante secret. My vigilantism was never a secret. You don't know my secrets. Oh yeah? Tell me a secret then. Shinszo grinned, tackling Izuku to the ground and pinning him there. Izuku just laughed, not bothering to get out of it despite the fact that he totally could. Well, I wouldn't be a very good secret keeper if I went around telling my secrets. Oh yeah. Shinszo snorted. I don't believe you have secrets. I do so. You don't. You're secretless. I literally hid my identity from Eraser for almost 2 years. Yeah, because it's the only secret you had so you could focus on it. Not true. Is true. Is not. Is so. Is not. Oh, just kiss already. Kigo's teasing voice cut through their argument and Shinszo turned bright red, scrambling off Izuku. Based on the heat Izuku felt flaring in his cheeks, he was just as red. Though, he didn't feel embarrassed. It didn't feel like that was what was making him blush, but it had to be. Right? Kigo! Shinszo whined. F off. Never. I've got no love life, I have to live through my younger cousin. Aren't you literally pining over that fire guy? Well yeah, but he's not gay. He's gayer than you motherfucker. And besides, technically he'd only have to be gay like a third of the time. Somehow that doesn't help Toshi. Kigo groaned, and the two split into almost feral arguing over whether or not the quote, fire guy, whoever that was pining after Kigo. Shinszo insisted he was. Kigo thoroughly disagreed. What do you think, Yamazawa? Shinszo eventually asked. At this point Kigo had joined them in the room and was still insisted vehemently that the fire guy was not interested in him. I have literally never met this man, how am I supposed to know? Vibes, look at this guy, Kigo show him the photo, look at this guy and tell me if he's gay or straight. Reluctantly Kigo showed Izuku a picture, and even more reluctantly, Izuku looked. Okay, so I don't know shit about what someone gay looks like, but I've had a conversation with Dabi, and he is down bad for a winged person who is quote, way out of his league, so I'm guessing you're good to go. He's definitely interested. Sorry, you've had a conversation with a villain? Shinszo yelped. Hey, this was supposed to be a safe place. We were literally talking about the guy dating your cousin and now you're judging me for talking to him? What about Kigo who's thinking about dating him? Hey, whoa, I didn't say I was going to date the guy. Wait, but you like him and he likes you, what's the problem? I'm a hero and he's a villain? Semantics really. Can't let the law get in the way of a good relationship. If I let the law lead my life I'd be jobless, shoeless and living on the streets. Crime is good. As a hero I feel I must say that crime is not good, but as someone who is down bad for a villain, I can say crime can be quite hot. I see why Toshi likes you. K. What? Izuku stared at the two of them, not quite comprehending the words before shaking his head to clear it. There was no way he'd heard that right. Anyways, I've now been proved to be correct and he is in love with you, so get your man. Not while you're injured though dash. But he doesn't know I'm not always a guy. Sorry to inform you, but Dabi literally could not give a f dash. He has no care about the gender of a person, just if he thinks they are hot. You're good, Izuku grinned. He so rarely got to play matchmaker, but Dabi was one of the few criminals he let get away if they ran into each other on patrol. Dabi was fun, and he'd been through too much, just like Izuku had. In fact, Izuku couldn't bring himself to be upset at any of the league. So he'd made a deal with them. Avoided causing injuries or deaths of civilians and hero students, then Izuku would give them a warning of the heroes ever closed in on them. That was technically one of his more illegal and morally gray acts, but oh well. In the end it had worked out. The villains only attacked heroes who were able to defend themselves and committed crimes that didn't harm anyone, so Izuku called it a job well done. Well, Kei is off to have a gay panic now. Wanna play more video games? Shinszo suggested as Kigo practically raced from the room, muttering under her breath. Yeah. A few hours later, Izuku was letting himself onto the roof above Shinszo and Kigo's apartment and heading home via the comfortable route of the rooftops. Razor? You still here? Izuku called quietly as he let himself in through the window. The pro should still be here since his patrol wouldn't start for another 10 minutes, but you never knew when it came to Eraserhead. Yeah, just about to head off. No, you can't join, you've had a long enough day as it is. Eraser responded quietly from where he sat on the couch, not looking up from his phone. Yeah, no, that's fine, I need to crash, but I just wanted to ask, did you know Shinzo's cousin was Hawks? That got Eraser's attention. The rules about not telling people about us apply tenfold for not telling people about Hawks. Understood? Yeah, of course. They made that super clear. I wasn't even supposed to meet her, but she got injured on patrol. She's fine now. She came home to look after it, and well, yeah. Good, Eraser sighed, relaxing slightly. They're in a rough spot at the moment. Any information about their personal life could be deadly, so keep it quiet, okay, kid? Yeah, okay, Izuku agreed. He wasn't stupid. He knew how dangerous secrets could be, and he was good at keeping secrets. He made sure of it. Good. Thank you, kid. Yeah, of course, Izuku murmured, heading over to the kitchen to start making a hot chocolate. They were quiet for a long time before eventually Izuku spoke. If you were working a big case, you would include me in it, right? Probably you're one of my best sidekicks, Eraser smiled easily. Okay, Izuku nodded. Of course he would. He only didn't include Izuku in the Hawks thing because it was all admin stuff. Not for any other reason. What are you asking, kiddo? It seems like there's something more here. I know you were working on the case with Hawks, but she said it was all admin stuff and that's why you didn't include me, but now I can't help but think, it's stupid, I don't want to be left out because I'm not good enough or something. I can be better, I can. Izuku, kid, Hawks is completely right when they say that's why you weren't included. As amazing as you are on field, the help you could provide to Hawks' case is pretty lacking, purely because it's a fight based on status. Even I can't do much. I've mostly just been training them on some skills they lacked and sorting out financial and legal stuff and things like that. Okay, Izuku agreed with a sigh. He hadn't really registered how worried he had been about that until this moment where the worry faded. Are you okay? Eraser asked, moving to stand next to him in the kitchen, wrapping one arm gently around him. Yeah, I'm okay. Just still learning how to do people things. It's weird having to understand social situations I've never been in before. Well, you can always ask me for help, although I'm not usually the best with social skills, so maybe Zashi would be a better option, Eraser pointed out. Izuku hummed in agreement, leaning his head against Eraser's shoulder. Thanks, Razor, Izuku sighed softly. I think I'm gonna go sleep now. Of course, don't forget your hot chocolate. I would never, Izuku laughed, collecting it and heading towards his room. All in all, he was pretty okay. Izuku asked Mike about potentially having Shinszo come visit here since he had a hero family too and would understand the rules, to which Mike agreed sounded reasonable. He wouldn't do it tonight though. He wanted to go on patrol, and adding on another thing seemed like it was asking for trouble. Instead, he focused on making Eri smile and laugh until it was time to head to school, the hours still far too early in the morning for his taste, but he would get used to it eventually, or something. Just as he had every other day at UA, Izuku sat in his spot in class, writing notes and trying desperately to understand the sheer amount of things he had missed out on. Shinszo, iconically, showed up less than a minute before class started, slumping in his chair exhaustedly. "Hey Shinszo," Izuku whispered, "how's your cousin doing after the surgery last night? The stitches healing okay?" He prayed Shinszo would understand the slight changes to the story that he had made to avoid the class understanding what Izuku was talking about. Surgery wasn't by any means accurate, but it would avoid the class prying. "Yeah, I helped change the bandaging this morning and there's no sign of infection." "That's good," Izuku hummed, relaxing a little. He didn't even get a chance to continue into an actual conversation before Eraser began the class. Well, classes, unsurprisingly, were boring. Sure, Izuku had a lot to catch up on with all the school he's missed, but being behind doesn't make solving simultaneous equations any less repetitively infuriating. Lunch was, as usual, a desperately needed respite in which Izuku found himself rambling excitedly about Eri, who was just too adorable not to ramble about. Watching her experience things she'd never experienced before? Things he also hadn't experienced? It was refreshing. It was beautiful. Izuku wasn't ready to admit he also hadn't tried half the sweet things Hisashi gets for Eri to try, but he still gets to watch her reaction to it. Plus he always gets to try them as well, even if he doesn't admit it's new to him. "Yamazawa, I'm sure your guardians would want you to try new things too? Like they probably would enjoy seeing you get excited over something in the same way you enjoy seeing your sister excited," Shinszo pointed out softly. "She's a little kid. She's adorable with whatever she does. If it were me, I would just be high maintenance or something. I'm already too much, I can't make that worse." "What?" Shinszo asked quietly. "What do you mean, no, you aren't high maintenance? Who told you that? I don't have to be told it, I'm literally already a problematic vigilante with it. Shitload of trauma, my guardians don't need me to be childish. I'm supposed to be mature and stuff, I'm not a little kid. I can't just get excited over a candy apple. I'm not Eri. Yamazawa dash. No, I don't want to do this. Can we not?" Izuku interrupted. This was too much to think about. Too much. There was no way he could be childish like that without it being a problem. He was Izuku. He wasn't supposed to be childish. He knew being quirkless wasn't a problem here like it was with his mother, but being childish? That was universal. Right? To us. He couldn't be a crybaby who's never tried ice cream before. He couldn't be. Izuku couldn't settle his mind, not for the rest of the day's classes, nor the wait for his guardians to be ready to go home, nor for the drive home or the hours he was supposed to sleep before patrol. Even roof jumping wasn't helping. "Problem child, what's bothering you?" Eraser asked, stopping on a random rooftop to look at Izuku, eyes firm but soft in a way that insisted Izuku answer while not being angry at Izuku. A safe middle ground. It's nothing. Don't lie to me, kiddo, it's not worth wasting either of our time. Can you just leave it be? Izuku asked softly, already knowing the answer was going to be an equally soft no. "You know I can't. If nothing else, whatever it is, it's distracting you and that's dangerous. I left it alone for you to stew at home because I thought it would help, but I don't think it has, so talk to me, kid. What is it?" It's stupid. I'm sure it's not. It's something Shinszo said, Izuku admitted quietly, and Eraser just nodded encouragingly, silently urging him to continue. I was talking about how Eri has been trying a lot of new things and I must have accidentally let it slip that most of those things are new for me too, and he said I shouldn't be hiding that it's new, but I know I should, because it's childish to get so excited over small things, and while Eri can of course get away with it, she is literally a child, I can't, and I don't get why he doesn't agree. "Come sit," Eraser said after a moment of thought, sitting down on the edge of the rooftop like they do often do when Izuku admits stuff he probably shouldn't. The only deep conversation they have had that wasn't like this was when Izuku really wanted to jump and Eraser didn't trust him not to. Izuku hadn't trusted himself that night either. Slowly, Izuku moved forwards, joining Eraser and just looking out over the city and breathing in the cold night air. Kid, you are a child too. What? You may not be as young as Eri, but you are still a child. And either way, it's not childish to get excited over trying new things. It's natural. You should have seen how excited Mike got when we went to Paris for a hero conference and he tried a proper French croissant for the first time. What I'm trying to say is that you are allowed to be a kid, and you are definitely allowed to get excited over what you haven't tried before. But I'm always so, me? Eraserhead just raised an eyebrow, clearly questioning that line of thought without bothering with much else. Izuku got the message. I'm childish, I'm a cry-baby, I'm attention-seeking. No, you are a child, one with a huge amount of trauma for that matter. You are not childish or anything else you just listed. You are a kid and that's okay. I'm supposed to be mature. I adopted a child when I adopted you. I don't exactly go around adopting adults after all. You don't have to be mature. You are a kid. Sure, maturity is a good trait to have, but you already have that in how you handle things, how you treat people, how you react to things. You are a child, you are allowed to be a child. But my mother said dash. Kid, your mother said a lot of wrong things. That's part of why I adopted you. She isn't a good person. She was wrong. She was wrong for what she said to you, and she was wrong for how that continues to affect you. I know this won't be something you can just magically switch off, and I know it will take time for you to unlearn it, but that's okay. I'll be there every step of the way to help you, okay? So, you want me to be childish? I want you to be yourself. I want you to show how you feel, whether that's excitement over a new thing or hatred of something. I want you to let yourself feel your emotions. I'm not sure how good I'll be at that. That's okay, kid. You're allowed to take time to learn. Izuku smiled softly, leaning against Eraser as they looked out over the city. What he wouldn't do for this. The cold air flowing gently around them, the stars and streetlights lighting up the darkness, Eraser sitting next to him, providing the quiet comfort only Aizawa seems able to provide. It is truly perfect. Izuku never wants it to end.